This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Mostly sunny and 16 with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
FIVEaa Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. FIVEaAextra.com.
The Commonwealth Games opening ceremony is underway in Birmingham. More from Gail Watson.
Malala Yousafzai was a teenager when she was shot by Taliban gunmen for actively supporting a girl's right to education and has now made Birmingham her home. She delivered a touching welcome address speaking of hope for the future and the value of education. So far, the opening ceremony has featured floating houses to represent the 72 nations and acknowledging the Midlands motor industry, red, white and blue cars driven into the stadium to form the Union Jack, the city's role in the Industrial Revolution, also featuring. More than 5,000 athletes will compete across 20 different sports for 280 gold medals over the next 10 days.
Police have seized more than 200 cannabis plants being grown under lights in the northern suburbs. David Bruce reports.
2 houses have been raided over the past couple of days after police received a tip-off. One on Housey Road, Elizabeth East, where a hydroponic setup was discovered. 124 plants were seized. The other grow house was at Deneen Road, Parafield Gardens. Another 60 mature plants were taken away, along with 52 seedlings. A large quantity of hydroponic equipment was also confiscated in both cases. No one was at either of the properties. Police are now looking for those involved.
The US and Chinese leaders have warned each other over Taiwan during a lengthy phone call. The White House says the call was candid. Chinese authorities are furious at unconfirmed plans by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi to visit Taiwan. A dinosaur fossil has sold at a New York auction for more than 8 million Australian dollars. The 77-million-year-old skeleton belonging to a relative of the T-Rex. Sotheby's Senior Vice President Cassandra Hatton says Gorgosaurus should be better known.
It was a hunter. Very strong jaw. If you look at the teeth, they're like a double-edged steak knife, serrations on either side, so it was used for ripping and tearing. And while T-Rex is more well-known, Gorgosaurus, I think, was a more effective apex predator.
And the final episode of Neighbours is aired. It comes after almost 9,000 episodes of the Aussie soap revolving around the cul-de-sac of Ramsay Street. More from Alex Riddell.
A number of past actors returned to the fictional Melbourne suburb of Erinsborough last night, including Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan, reprising their roles of Scott and Charlene.
Wow, wow, wow. Look at this, huh? We made it, huh?
Home sweet home.
Also playing a starring role last night was Guy Pearce, and there were brief appearances from Delta Goodrem and Natalie Imbruglia. A number of people from around Australia and the world congratulating all those involved on the 37 seasons. Victoria Police even paying tribute on social media, saying Eastern Region Police are now expecting the cul-de-sac to experience much less crime from now on.
Now turning to FIVEaa Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
And here's Tom Wren. Tom, you didn't manage to catch it last night?
No, I missed it, unfortunately, out for dinner and working, but Scott and Charlene were back, so that was important. That was a good thing. Let's start with some football, Kendall, and the teams are out for the Crows and Port Adelaide ahead of their round 20 matches being played tomorrow. The Power have brought back Trent McKenzie at the expense of Tom Cleary, who's been dropped, while Xavier Dersma is also in the team for Willem Drew, who's also been left out. And defender Lockie Jones is back in the side for Riley Bonner, who's out with COVID. Across at West Lakes, the Crows have brought young defender Josh Worrell in for Tom Duday, who's out injured. Let's stick with footy, and Collingwood CEO Mark Anderson says he fully expects Brodie Grundy to be at the Magpies next season, despite speculation he might be moving clubs.
As you know, he's got a contract and committed to that. Clearly, anything that is changed would be at his decision. We'll have all of those conversations at the back end of the year in terms of what our list looks like and what our needs are.
Meantime, Anderson says they will continue to hold off contract talks with Jordan De Goey until the end of the year. And Fremantle will be without skipper Nat Fyfe for the 13th time this season when they take on Melbourne tonight in Perth. That's after Fyfe was subbed out of last weekend's match with a hamstring complaint. The Sydney Roosters have opened the round 20 of the NRL season with a 20-10 scrappy win against the Manly Sea Eagles. And four-time Formula One world champion Sebastian Vettel has announced he'll retire from the sport at the end of the season. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Not a 5AA forecast.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny and 16 today, showers developing tomorrow 17, showers again for Sunday 15 and a shower or two for Monday also 15. At the moment 8. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to 5AA Breakfast on a Friday morning where we have a massive show on the way today. Ryan Fitzgerald before 7 o'clock. Get Fitzy's footy tips if you're needing a little bit of help before the round kicks off in earnest tonight. We're going to catch up with Phil Curry and wrap the last week in federal politics. We're going back in time with Michael Smith in Flashback just after 7:30 today. Orazio Fantasia played football last weekend and he'll be joining us live after 8 o'clock today to talk about it. And a whole heap more, including a meat tray today where we want people to share some information and stories about the piece of memorabilia that has pride of place at their house. The piece of memorabilia that you cherish the most. Maybe it's the most unique. We're doing this, of course, because we've got the Ramsay Street sign to give away today. And after 37 years, the show ended last night. Someone who is a diehard fan that can give us a review of the show will get that sign this morning. But what we want to do is hear from you and your stories regarding memorabilia. Of course, David, people might have a bit of Pizza Hut memorabilia as of the auction that's taking place for the Marion Pizza Hut that's closing down. It could be absolutely anything. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. Got very fond memories of that Pizza Hut. I think it was the first Pizza Hut in South Australia, the one there on the corner of Sturt Road and Morfett Road.
Was.
Now, that is a very special little patch of turf for me, growing up in the south, because my first job was over the road there at the old Ampol service station. It's not there anymore, long gone. But I started working there because my cousin Mike had a part-time job. He got a job in about 1982. I think he was in his last year of high school. I was in year 10, and I was so excited getting a part-time job in year 10, but it was directly opposite the Pizza Hut. And on a number of occasions, Mum and Dad, I had to spend a good half hour working on myself with the Solvol after working at the servo. You'd get filthy. You have to,
Would you smell? Like petrol or your clothes?
Totally. Yeah. Because you used to do people's oil, you'd do their windscreens. It was full driveway service. So you'd be stinking, so you'd have to have a real go at yourself with the Solvol. But we often had Friday night dinners there, and the big, if you wanted to be really elegant, the pizza sub. Remember the pizza sub that came in the basket, and it had like the olives on a stick in the bun. But yeah, I reckon like there'd be probably the most emblematic thing from the original Pizza Hut were the red and white tablecloths. You'd like one of them.
They must be up for grabs. The booths are up for grabs, as I understand it.
Seriously?
Yeah, I believe so. That'd be good in your home.
That would actually be really good. Because it's nice, that sort of, what is it called, banquette, that type of seating. That'd be great to have in your house.
The meat tray today is thanks to Liam, Joanna and the team at my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. Matthew in Selleck's Beach is getting us started early with his favourite piece of memorabilia. Morning to you, Matthew.
Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, mate.
Good, thanks, Matt.
I was just mentioning to Lucy, I've got like size 4 and size 3 Footscray Bulldog jumpers from when I was obviously 2 or 3 or 4 years old. I'm now 45.
Oh, mate, really?
Who was the number, Matthew?
No, these are infant jumpers, like as in a not a Guernsey, as in teen jumpers. I've got a small woolen Teddy Whitten jumper.
Excellent.
60s to 70s year old, sort of around that mark. But yeah, I've got everything that I've ever had. Bulldogs wise.
Are they those like really nice, thick, old-fashioned woolen ones?
Yes, the ones that if they got wet, they must have weighed about 20 tons.
Yeah. I got a Sturt jumper that my parents bought me when I was probably 5 years old that I've still got with number 8 sewn on the back, P. Bagshaw.
What's your link to Footscray, Matthew?
Oh, look, I'm originally from Shepparton, and to be honest with you, I think as Victorians, you injected with the blood when you get born, but I've got mum and dad are both Geelong, my brother's Carlton, my two sisters were Collingwood, and I ended up the Bulldogs, so we don't actually know why.
Do you still struggle calling them the Western Bulldogs, Matt? Do you find yourself saying Footscray?
No, it depends on the conversation. I've got a lot of Footscray gear, and over the last probably 15 to nearly 20 years of being the Western Bulldogs, Western Bulldogs is who we sponsor now or support.
Yeah.
So you just go with the times, and they did that purely to include the western suburbs of Melbourne.
Mate, I imagine you would have seen it more than once, but Year of the Dog, how good a documentary's that?
I think the grand final's a little bit better for 16, especially on the DVD, because I'm pictured on it. So every time I watch the rerun, I've got to see myself into the last quarter there.
Oh, mate. Well, that's the next bit of memorabilia.
That was such a good game of football.
Good on you, Matthew.
That was a great game. Great call.
Diane in Underdale, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we this morning?
Good, thanks, Diane.
That's good. My husband has a life-size replica of the robot from Lost in Space.
No.
Kidding?
Yeah.
How'd he get his hands on that?
Warning, Will Robinson.
They only made a limited number back in around about 2000 it was, and they were making limited editions, and he got it shipped over from the States.
That is awesome. Where is it? You sound like a very understanding wife, Diane. Have you let him put it up in the living room?
I can't stand the thing. We use it as our Christmas tree every year.
Oh, really?
Oh, so I'm guessing, Diane, the kind of man who has the, Danger Will Robinson robot from Lost in Space, it's not the only thing he's got in that realm.
He also had 4 Kiss dolls that unfortunately got stolen.
Oh, no.
He has just so many things what was the puppet show back in the early 60s? He's got all of those models. Thunderbirds.
Oh, really?
All the models of, the Thunderbirds.
Like Brains and the...
Yes, he's got all of those. They're all around at his office.
Is it Penelope? Is that a name, the blonde woman?
Oh, that's extraordinary, Diane.
Lady Penelope.
Lady Penelope, that's right. Thunderbirds are go.
Thunderbirds are go. He's also got the pink car. He's been a collector over the years.
I've got to say, Diane, I think you got quite a catch there. He sounds like my kind of guy.
That's extraordinary. Diane, thank you. Glenn in Elizabeth North, good morning.
Morning, guys. Being an FIVEaa supercar crew member, I've got bonnets and guards hanging up everywhere at my old home from cars that I've worked on. But the best bit of memorabilia I got in my dining room is my FIVEaa Sunwheel road race bike. So, no dining table, we've got the bike in there. So
you're kidding me.
100%. It's my old race bike. I've got a new one. The new one's in the shed and the old one's in the kitchen. So,
mate, that'll look terrific.
It's 100%. It's interesting to see.
So no dining table? Just you haven't got a dining table, you just got that instead?
No, my partner and I got a little round one that you have on the front porch, so we just use that, and every time we need to go and have dinner, we just drag around the house wherever we need to go, so 100%.
Be honest, Glenn, when you're home by yourself, have you ever eaten off the bike?
Well, I do sit in there with Vicky. I'll call it Vicky. It's my sister. She's not with us anymore, so yeah.
Right.
True story.
Lovely.
She's in there.
That's
Have
nice,
a good day.
mate.
Good on you, Glenn. Thank you, mate. 8223 0000. You can text us on the Automasters text line 044808 1395.
I reckon we're going to get a lot of entries for this. I mentioned the old Sturt jumper. Probably my most prized bit of memorabilia. I reckon some of our older listeners would have these. In the 1950s, they used to make these. I think the modern term for them would be bobbleheads, but they made them for all the SANFL teams. And they're like clay figurines. They're with this cherubic sort of cartoonish face of a young boy, but the head's on a spring, so you tap it and it sort of wobbles, but it's very fragile because it's made out of China. But they did them all in SANFL colours. And I've got like an original Sturt bobblehead that belonged to my grandfather. Be pretty close to 100 years old now.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It would have to be 80 years old.
That'd look quite cool because they're all made out of plastic these days. So
these are like total works of art. It's got a little crack in its head, but my father glued it up when he was a kid, and I've got it in my study up on the wall.
15 minutes after 6, news headlines coming up in just a moment.
Patience pays off, especially if you've been holding out for a great deal on a new Volkswagen. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen is now receiving truckloads of new Volkswagens. Yes, they're coming. And they're available at amazing prices. Remember Mawson Lakes Volkswagen for servicing too, with next day servicing and free loan cars. Get a great deal on Volkswagen now. Don't dilly-dally, dawdle or delay. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
G'day, it's Mark Bickley. When you buy a Leader computer, you're buying a computer made right here in Adelaide. You're dealing with people that live in Adelaide, and when it comes to servicing or support, it all happens here in Adelaide. Not overseas, not interstate. Unlike some others, Leader don't have to send anything off for repair. They take care of everything right here. It makes sense to live life local. Live life Leader. Leader Computers. Find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
We're for bringing you great savings at The Advertiser. Subscribe today and enjoy 7-day newspaper home delivery plus digital access for just $1 a day for the first 3 months. Search The Advertiser offer today. Min cost $31. Conditions apply.
Do you want fresh filtered water flowing through your home? Choose a system by Complete Home Filtration. Joining me from Complete Home Filtration is Suzanne Dodds, who incidentally won the Telstra 2022 Business Awards. So what's the benefits of filtered water, Suzanne?
Well, the benefits of filtering water for the whole home mean that you don't just enjoy filtered water for drinking, but for showering and bathing as well. So people see big differences in softer skin, softer hair, unlimited bottled water, quality water from every tap.
That sounds great. So where can we purchase one?
You can just jump online and go to completehomefiltration.com.au.
That's completehomefiltration.com.au.
Taste, feel, see the difference.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide for Adelaide. 9 News. David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
Seven minutes after 6. Let's get into the news headlines on this Friday morning. Some more Meat Tray Friday entries shortly, thanks to my local butcher at Chanella's 62 Prospect Road, Prospect. Talking memorabilia this morning. A lot of it around the Ramsay Street sign that's with us in the studio, the Pizza Hut that's auctioning off all the original items and fare from the first Pizza Hut here in... there you go. We don't make this stuff up.
No,
that's
a
legitimate.
real sign.
That's the sound of a priceless bit of memorabilia being smacked down on a desk.
I went out for a quiet meal and drink with a mate last night in celebration of being locked in the house for a week, but Kate texted me during my dinner and she said, "You are missing television history tonight." She watched the Neighbours finale and she said it was genuinely sensational.
Really?
Yeah, she loved it.
If someone's got a review for us, there's a Ramsay Street sign in it for you. Yep. 8223 0000. Want to get people's thoughts. Long-time listeners, long-time viewers, should I say. Maybe first-time viewers. I know. We'll speak to Lucy after. She tuned in for the first ever episode she's ever watched, and it was last night.
Seriously?
Didn't make a lot of sense.
Left her run a bit late.
The opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games has kicked off. So far it's featured floating houses to represent the 72 nations and acknowledging the Midlands motor industry. Red, white and blue cars were driven into the stadium that form the Union Jack. The city's role in the Industrial Revolution also featuring. I saw a giant and actually quite spectacular looking mechanical bull that was on the back of a tractor. That actually, to be honest, it felt like a revolution in floats. You know, there's been a lot of development in floats in the last 60 or 70 years. There's sort of something hitched on the back of a truck. Yeah. Generally, this was spectacular. It had all moving parts and various operators.
I bet they didn't have a winking kangaroo, though.
They didn't have a winking kangaroo. They missed a trick there. 5,000 athletes will compete across 20 sports for 280 gold medals over the course of the next 10 days. More than 200 cannabis plants have been seized from 2 houses in the northern suburbs. Police received a tip-off that cannabis was being grown hydroponically at a house in Elizabeth East. 124 plants and hydroponic equipment with overloaded power points was found inside. Another 60 plants and 50 seedlings were then found at a house at Parafield Gardens. No one was home at either house and police inquiries are continuing. A staff member for the Adelaide Remand Centre has faced court and aggravated theft charges of more than $100,000.
This is staggering, story.
The money belonged to prisoners and was allegedly stolen by the man who's employed by private operator Serco, was remanded after his court appearance yesterday, made no application for bail. They only noticed something was up when he went missing.
Yeah. But the thing I find weird, though, it was just cash kept in a safe. How bizarre. What a way to handle money these days in a workplace. to have a huge amount of cash in a safe? In a prison, no less.
Is it because it belonged to the prisoners?
The cash should be fine here. Well, in the defence of the prisoners, it wasn't the prisoners who pinched it. It was their money.
No, it was exactly right. It was their money. Oh, yeah, you're
They're
right, though.
making number plates all day. Maybe they made this Ramsay Street sign.
They probably did.
What do you get paid? What do you get paid per hour as a prisoner for doing all that?
For doing labour? Can't be great, can it? Or does it have to be minimum wage? They might have just got a pay bump with Anthony Albanese coming in.
There's an argument about it because of the potential for using it as a way of undercutting local labour.
It's always been the argument in the United States.
Yeah.
It ends up being cheaper than the private sector trying to employ people.
You've heard the song The Man Who Couldn't Cry by Johnny Cash?
Yes.
Great song. Isn't it? Yeah, made to make licence plates.
A diamond of a different kind has been discovered for the first time in Australia. The metamorphic diamonds found in North Queensland can't be seen by the naked eye. Oh, yeah, this sounds like a swindle. James Cook University's Dr.
It's like a flea circus.
Yeah. Dr. Jon Stanislav says there've only been a few found in locations around the world.
And that was the first thing that we established, that we are in the right type of rock, the right type of geology. And second, we had to start looking for them inside the rock. So to do that, you need to cut some really thin slices of the rock, about 30 micrometers across.
Oh, yeah. David, I've got a priceless diamond to sell you. You just can't see it.
I know. I was going to say, if you'd like to buy this invisible diamond, send us your BSB and email address, and we'll forward the invisible diamond to you for only $100,000.
That's a triumph. Some drug dealers have reportedly shifted their business to selling vapes. A recent survey by the George Institute found 84% of teachers and staff working at high schools say some of their students use e-cigarettes now. The problem also extending into primary schools. News Corp reporting that some drug dealers are tapping into the market, delivering nicotine and cannabis vapes directly to teens near school grounds. The items being sold online via encrypted apps.
Primary school?
Primary school.
Geez, that's pretty crazy.
Let's check the weather. Right now it's 6.9. It is cool out there, but just keep in mind Canberra right now is minus 2.1. 21 though in Darwin, if you want to look at the other end of the spectrum. 16 the expected top today. Winds northeasterly 15 to 20 k's an hour, becoming light in the late afternoon, then 15 to 25 again in the evening. Tomorrow things start picking up in the excitement way. 17 the expected top with potentially 2 mils of rain. Then Sunday, it's particularly wet, 15 and up to 6 mils of rain. Drizzle around on Monday, 15 and a mil. Picks up again on Tuesday, 17 and up to 6 mils of rain. Then Wednesday, up to 10 mils of rain. Thursday, up to 15 mils of rain. Next week is going to be seriously wet if that ends up bearing out.
Good for the garden. It's been a bit dry, actually. We need a good soak.
Yep, would be good. Let's talk sport. Tom Wren's in the 5AA Breakfast Studio with us. New Mitsubishi Triton with 10-year warranty, 10-year cap price servicing. Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Yeah, looking like it should be okay for tomorrow night, though, at the football, which is good for the Crows and Carlton. Speaking of which, Josh Worrell into the side for Tommy Duday, who revealed here on AA Brekkie yesterday that he won't be there, unfortunately.
Josh Worrell.
Young defender.
Yeah, right.
Played a couple of games. Few games,
played
maybe.
Before. Yeah. Came in the same draft as Fisher Mackesy.
Yeah, right.
He plays a similar role to Tom Do, that sort of third tall defender that runs off and creates a little bit.
And I think,
intercepts.
With 4 games to go, it's time to have a bit of a look at some of these guys anyway, isn't it?
Why did it take Tom Duday to get injured to play Josh Worrell? He's a guy who's been in really good form in the Sandful. Great that he's come in. It amazes me that the Crows have been 2-10 in their last 12 games, are 16th on the ladder, and as you say, there's 5 games left. And they haven't made an unforced change for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The 22 settled.
Yeah.
We must be the only bottom 3 side in history that has a settled 22. I know this is all going well.
Yeah.
These guys are good.
And that's it. So I think the fans, will get another glimpse of him, and that's what they want.
That's good. I'm glad he's in.
It's great. And Port Adelaide, they brought back Trent McKenzie, who I think was very close last week. He's in the side. And
what about those Port fans, whoever it was? Definitely would have been Port people, real full-on, rusted on Port crazies who put up the Sack Hinkley sign on Port Road. I thought it was excellent that Ken Hinkley came out and had a crack at those people.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough as well.
Me too.
It's quite demeaning and, get on the front foot and have a bit of a go back. So,
yeah.
A big game for them. I mean, look, mathematically they can still make it. I think they're a chance, even though Collingwood have won 9 in a row. I think the dry weather will suit them tomorrow. It's going to be cold over in Melbourne, but 14 degrees, no rain at all to speak of.
Collingwood are just plucking it out of the you-know-what, aren't they?
Unbelievable.
Well, they won 9 in a row by less than 2 goals.
Yep, it's 102 points on 1, I think. Hey, another thing that's crazy, third round of the Live Golf is this weekend at Bedminster. It's one of Donald Trump's courses, the former US president. He's had a bit to say about those players on the tour that are going to be playing at his course this weekend.
I've known these people for a long time in Saudi Arabia, and they've been friends of mine for a long time. They've invested in many American companies. They own big percentages of many, many American companies, and frankly, what they're doing for golf is so great. What they're doing for the players is so great. The salaries are going to go way up. The PGA was not loved by a lot of the players, as you know, for a long time.
There's a bit of background to this too, isn't there, Rennie, whereby the PGA stopped playing tournaments at Donald Trump's courses?
Yes, yep.
So he has...
Why did they stop?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that he's got... Well, was it when he was the president? Is it political? I wouldn't have thought the PGA... Not classics, he's sort of left-leaning.
No, I was going to say the PGA being pro-Democrats.
No, I wouldn't have thought... I'm not sure what the origin of it was, but yeah, they stopped playing tournaments at his courses, so he doesn't love them. Put it that way.
And you're not surprised that Donald Trump would be all over this Live Tour, are you? I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
I tell you what, if you want to have a real laugh, do a Google search. Just type Donald Trump, LeBron James into Google and find the comments he made yesterday about how he wanted to start a women's basketball team. And the first thing he was going to do was get LeBron James to join it, but to pretend that he was a woman. He was making a point about the transgender debate. But Trump is just out there demented, isn't he? But he's supremely entertaining, despite being, a dangerous fascist lunatic.
Oh no, he's deeply offensive, but he's got a turn of phrase about him. That's part of his charm. But you know what the thing that struck me about that he said? He still managed to, even in an environment where you think, I've heard every hot take now, or I've heard everyone, that nothing's off limits in a political debate. He still manages to take it to a place you go, ooh. Oh, I didn't expect to hear anyone say that.
I know.
He hasn't lost that at all. He's still one step ahead of the game. Good on you, Rennie.
Great stuff. Thanks boys.
10-year warranty, 10-year cap price servicing, Agostina, Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
You're the generation that stopped wars and started revolutions. So you're hardly going to start compromising now. Welcome to Bloom at Glenside. Exclusive community living, where sustainability and luxury go hand in hand. Access to a swimming pool, pavilion, gym and more. Surrounded by parklands and walking trails on the fringe of the city. Prestige apartments for discerning boomers. Register now at bloomglenside.com.au.
Feel that chill? Winter is here, and so are high heating bills. Trade Services SA can install an air conditioner that heats and cools your home from just $599. That's a saving of more than 70% off normal price, thanks to the state government's REPS initiative, which encourages people to reduce energy. Visit tssa.com.au to see if you're eligible. That's tssa.com.au. Terms and conditions apply.
Where are you listening to this radio ad? Are you sitting in the car? Let me ask you a question. If you hit a Stobie pole, do you stay in or get out? The answer is to stay in your car and call 000 along with SA Power Networks. You won't know if the pole or power lines are still live. You'll be shocked by what you don't know. For more information on electrical safety, look up SA Power Networks. Empowering South Australia.
Here at FIVEaa, we're all about supporting local. Here's who you can support around Adelaide. Bowel screening saves lives. If you're aged 50 to 74, do the free test kit mailed to you. It only takes a few minutes. Need more info? Visit bowelcancer.org.au. Treat yourself and heal yourself at the Loving Earth Psychic Expo, August 6 and 7 in the Market Shed on Holland Street, Adelaide, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily. Entry is just $5. FIVEaa. Supporting local business.
Hi, Shayna Blaze here. As a designer, I know how tricky it can be to design the perfect bathroom. So I teamed up with Beaumont Tiles and created complete bathroom packages. Drop into Beaumont's for complete bathroom packages designed by me.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
This
is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 16. With the 6:30 news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. physioextra.com.
The Commonwealth Games opening ceremonies continuing in Birmingham, with athletes making their way into the stadium. Earlier, human rights activist and Nobel Peace Prize winner Malala Yousafzai delivered a touching speech.
The young athletes who will compete over the next 2 weeks represent millions of girls and boys across the Commonwealth. Our shared hope for the future. A future where every child can go to school, where women can fully participate in society.
And that audio thanks to Seven. Wanted man Kim Coleman's been arrested northwest of Ceduna. The 35-year-old from WA was being sought for breaching home detention bail. He'll appear in the Ceduna Magistrates Court later today. The US economy has shrunk for a second consecutive quarter, fueling fears of a recession. More from Amelia Adams.
US gross domestic product fell 0.9% in the second quarter. That's 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth, the commonly acknowledged threshold for a recession. But President Biden is pushing back on the term, citing job growth and investments.
Many of the significant banking personnel and economists say we're not in a recession.
It comes a day after the US Federal Reserve raised interest rates 0.75 of a percentage point in a bid to curb soaring inflation.
Children are reporting fewer side effects after receiving their first dose of the COVID vaccine. Only 1/4 of those aged between 5 and 11 felt any after effects, sore arms, headaches and muscle pain the most common. Queensland researchers have made history finding a unique type of diamond in Australia. The James Cook University team confirmed the presence of metamorphic diamonds. Senior lecturer Dr Leon Sanslav says they're very different to those found by mining companies.
They form when one plate subducts under another tectonic plate, and this way the sediments of the surface are buried deep under the earth down to mantle depth. And when that happens, the carbon, which is basically diamond, a change happens and carbon gets transformed from graphite into diamond.
It's the end of an era for Australian TV, with Channel 10 soap Neighbours airing its grand finale after 37 years. 49 former cast members returned, including Kylie Minogue, Guy Pearce and Jason Donovan. Susan Kennedy, played by Jackie Woodburn, delivered the closing monologue, paying tribute to the show's legacy.
When we moved to Ramsay Street, the community was already here. The Ramsays and the Robinsons. The stories from those early days are legendary, and their legacy still lives on today.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
New Mitsubishi Triton with 10-year warranty, 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Footy First and Adelaide and Port Adelaide will both have light training runs today ahead of their matches tomorrow. The Crows have brought in young defender Josh Worrell for Tom Doedee, who's out injured, while the Powers made 3 changes for tomorrow's clash against Collingwood at the MCG. Trent McKenzie, Lockie Jones and Xavier Dersma all come into the side for the Power, while they'll again be without a recognised ruckman, with Bryn Teakle named as an emergency. Still on footy, Melbourne defender Jake Lever and Jaden Hunt return for Melbourne to take on the Dockers tonight. James Harms has delayed concussion symptoms and will miss the game. Coach Simon Goodwin says his players are determined to rediscover their competitive edge after losing 5 of their past 8 games.
We like the challenge of going over and playing a side that's, sitting in the top 4 and a real high-quality team. We know the challenge that Fremantle present to us, and we're looking forward to that. On a short turnaround, when we didn't play the way that we would have liked to on the weekend, we get a chance to do something about it away from home.
Fresh after winning his 3rd PGA Tour title, American Tony Finau is in a share of the lead after the first round of a PGA event in Detroit. He fired an impressive 8 under 64. Cam Davis, the best of the Aussies, 4 shots back. And former Liverpool and Barcelona striker Luis Suarez has rejoined his first professional club in Uruguay, Nacional. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny, 16 today, a shower or 2 developing tomorrow, 17, showers for Sunday, 15, and a shower or 2 on Monday, also 15. At the moment, 6. 6. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
25 minutes to 7, the meat tray today, thanks to Liam, Joanna and the team, my local butcher Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. We're talking memorabilia. What takes pride of place in your home? Maybe you picked up a new piece at the Pizza Hut auction earlier in the week from the original one at Marion. Also inspired by the Ramsay Street sign that we've got in the studio. We're going to give away to a big fan of Neighbours that after 37 years last night wrapped up its final episode. Getting some reviews in on the Automasters text line.
Joe's texted in saying, I watched the last Neighbours episode and it was a pretty good send-off. Toadie got married for the 10th time and I only just noticed that it's a cul-de-sac. So why is it Ramsay Street?
Good question. That's a good question. Dave Lloyd, our urban correspondent, says if you didn't watch Neighbours, it's been... even if you didn't watch The Neighbours, it's been part of all of our lives. So many Australian TV, film and music stars got their start on there. We've all grown up and grown old with them, entertaining us in one way or another. It's true. It's hard to not be touched by the legacy of Neighbours, even if you haven't watched the show yourself. So last night, 37 years in the making, the finale came. And as by way of experiment, we got Lucy, our excellent producer, to watch. Now, the reason this is particularly curious is because Lucy's never watched an episode of Neighbours in her life. So what was the show's last was Lucy's first. Were you able to make any sense of what was going on?
I knew who the key characters were. So Dr. Carl, Toadie, Susan, that's it. And so I didn't know who anyone was. And they all started coming back on with their cameos. And I knew who they were in real life, didn't know who their characters were and why they were involved. I did not know the storyline at all. Now, there's no real spoilers because it's over. There was a wedding. Toadie got married for what I believe is not the first time.
No, Joe on the text line says it's the 10th time.
So is Toadie a bit of a womaniser, is he?
Dave,
a lad.
You're asking the wrong person
unlucky
in asking
in love.
me.
Unlucky in love,
maybe.
Yeah, okay.
So I know that he was married to a character called Dee, who was played by Madeline West, who didn't make a cameo because in real life was married to Shannon Bennett, the chef. Long story short.
Oh, okay.
So I know
They had a
that
big bust up.
was one of his wives, and he married someone called Melanie last night. I don't know what number wife she is. In short, I did not know who these characters were, and I Googled them. I did not really get why the plot line was happening.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
Okay, but the sum of that experience, I think, is the regular Neighbours watcher, because people sort of come in and out, don't watch it for a few weeks, and then you chime back in and go, what in the hell's happening here?
But I don't think I could have watched it. Looking back, I'm glad I didn't actually watch it. I don't think I was even allowed when I was still living with my parents in primary school. I don't think
the show
I've lost anything in my life for having not watched it.
The show is actually several years older than you are too, Lou, so you couldn't have started watching it.
Decade older.
Well, yeah, I'm 27.
Yeah, that's
and,
right.
But yeah, I don't know when was I born? 94. I don't know what was happening in 94, but that's when Dr. Carl Alan Fletcher started on the show in 94.
Yes, it is.
So he's been on the show my entire life.
That's extraordinary. That's what he's turned up to do for work.
I know. So if anyone can ring in and give a legitimate review of how this wrapped up the entire 37 years, you can win the Ramsay Street sign. We want it to go to a Die Hard.
Yeah, someone who can really give us a review, having known all the storylines.
Yeah, like, did this end well? I have no concept of if this was a good ending or not. I can't tell.
All right, well, let's hand it over to an expert. 822
One thing I thought was telling was Craig McLachlan wasn't in it, and he was quite upset that he wasn't in it.
Yes, I sent the photo of him in overalls this morning to Will eating his breakfast.
Yeah, I was not particularly thankful for that. I didn't need to see that first thing. And the first thing I saw this morning was a semi-naked Craig McLachlan in overalls. Excuse me if I'm a bit off.
You get to a certain age as a bloke where you should just sort of realise that ship has sailed, and that the idea of going shirtless in the denim dungarees isn't really what people are after anymore.
I don't think if you're in the position of being really put out that you weren't in the Neighbours finale, having not been on the show for decades, whether you're the sort of person whoever thinks things might have passed you by.
Well, he says he's been cancelled.
Yes.
Because he had the sexual harassment trial.
He was cleared, wasn't he?
He was cleared. But then it was a bit murky where he had the defamation case. He was going to sue the media outlets who'd covered it for defamation, and then it got to the point where there were, I think, 7 more women were going to testify against him, and his lawyer went in and said, we might just abandon this proceeding.
Can I tell you about the wildest infographic I've almost ever seen? Courtesy of I assume News Limited have run this everywhere, but it's on Adelaide Now in their coverage of Neighbours. They've got some accompanying stats about Neighbours' longevity in bits and pieces. Some of those are fairly straightforward. Ran for 37 years, which is 8,903 episodes. They filmed 180,000 scenes. But then it starts getting granular, and this is where it gets really fascinating, I think. There were more than 100 kidnapping and hostage situations. Not bad for a little suburban street.
100?
Yeah, more than 100.
Geez, you wouldn't want to live on Ramsay Street.
115 car crashes or vehicle-related accidents. 115. It was all happening. There were no less than 35 natural disasters. 39 weddings. So by Joe's calculation, we've no reason to question, Toadie was responsible for more than a quarter of them. There were 17 births, 64 deaths.
64?
487 mullets. I don't know who's came back and counted that over 8,903 episodes, but good luck to you.
They were mandatory for the first 5 seasons. Even Kylie Minogue had one.
This is the phrasing and everything about this one is particularly curious. There were 10 to 15 risen from the dead situations. So sort of encounters with ghosts. I think Madge came back for the final, didn't she?
Dangerous place to live.
Clearly. Or, but conversely, good place to come back from the dead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
if you're planning on doing
swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, exactly. You could die, but then you could come back again.
And get married again.
Hive of paranormal activity.
Now, I'll tell you what's not coming back. Frozen the Musical is leaving Adelaide next week. Don't miss this Broadway musical with great seats available under $100. You can still get them. Book at Ticketek or stay listening. The show will freeze over at some point, and you need to be the first caller through on 8223 0055, and we'll send you along later this morning. When we get the tickets a little bit later. Let's check traffic. Discover Bloom at Glenside. Prestige apartments for discerning boomers. Register at bloomglenside.com.au.
Good morning. Road plates in use. Regency Park on the north-south motorway. Days Road exit with the speed reduced for outbound. Works continue. St Bernard's Road, McGill Road in McGill. Marion Road, Mulga Street, Brooklyn Park. Bob Jane T-Marts look after you. Buy 3, get 1 free, plus instant cash back on top tyre brands. Call or order online today. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Bonus local delivery on selected big brand mattresses now at Harvey Norman when you spend over $999, including King Coil by A.H. Beard, Sealy Posturepedic, Sleepmaker, Sealy Optimum, Beauty Rest, Body Balance by A.H. Beard, and Temper. Now's the time to upgrade your mattress and receive bonus delivery on selected big brand mattresses when you spend over $999. Available on in-store purchases only. Bonus local delivery on selected mattresses now at Harvey Norman.
Are you dreaming of a better sleep? Are you suffering from stress or a busy mind? At FIVEaa, we're inviting people aged 18 to 75 who have trouble sleeping to participate in a CBD sleep study. Learn more and register your interest today. Go to cbdsleepstudy.com.au. That's cbdsleepstudy.com.au.
It's one of the hardest and most complex decisions you can make, deciding on the future well-being of your parents.
Well, now you can find all of it in one place in the 2022 Aged Care Guide, and what's more, it is absolutely free.
In it, you'll find information on all aged care homes, home care providers, placement consultants, My Aged Care information, and a comprehensive list of aged care financial support services to give you a better understanding of costs. It's also got a comprehensive list of providers of these services that enables you to choose the best provider that suits you. Other features include types of care available, the ins and outs of short-term care, applying for funding, and much more.
For 22 years, the Aged Care Guide has supported local SA businesses. For your free copy of the 2022 Aged Care Guide, call 8276 7999. That's 8276 7999, and arrange to have it delivered free to your door.
Wednesday's a special day at Wallace Cinemas. It's Seniors Day with free morning tea or coffee before your movie. It's your choice of movies from Bobby's classics like The Great Escape and An American in Paris. It's new release movies like Where the Crawdads Sing, Good Luck to You Leo Grand and Phantom of the Open. It's homemade choc tops with Golden North ice cream and freshly popped popcorn. Wednesday is Seniors Day at Wallace Cinemas. Visit wallace.com.au or download the app for session times.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide for Adelaide. 9 News. David Penberthy.
and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
"15 minutes to 7. Let's talk weather. Jenny Horvat, senior forecaster at the Bureau, joins us. Morning to you, Jenny.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Will.
All right, so sounds like next week's where all the excitement's at, but let's start with today.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's been a little bit of a cooler start. We got down to 3.9. That happened at about 4:30, and currently here in the city at our West Terrace Dietapira observation site, we are sitting at 6.3 degrees. A little bit cooler in the suburbs. Down at Adelaide Airport got down to 2.4 degrees. Canberra Base getting down to 2.7 degrees. So it was a little bit of a cooler start, but we are aiming for 16 degrees for today in the city. 15 for Elizabeth, 16 for Glenelg, Noarlunga aiming for 15 degrees, and up at Mount Barker, 13 degrees. We've got a little bit of high cloud drifting across from the west, but we are in for a dry day today. Mostly sunny, mostly sunny breaks coming up, but then things start to change over the weekend, and looks like winter is still hanging in there as we head into next week. So starting off dry for Saturday, we'll have our northerly winds starting to pick up. Minimum temperature of around 9 degrees for Saturday morning and aiming for a maximum of 17 degrees. We'll see that cloud thickening up as it comes across from the west, so we could start to see some spots later in the day, but it looks like it's probably more likely in the evening and the overnight period. And then we'll have our front move through in the middle of the day on Sunday, so it looks like quite a few showers around, especially Sunday afternoon. Again, a minimum temperature of 9 degrees on Sunday, but a cooler max there following that change of around 15 degrees. Still looking at around 15 degrees to start the week, with a shower or two around on Monday, but after Sunday's probably not going to be as wet on Monday, but then we'll start to see those showers increasing on Tuesday with a more vigorous front coming through. Again, probably more likely later in the day with those showers with the current timing, and it looks like showers persisting as we see through the week. Temperatures of around 16 or 17 degrees for next week. So after a bit of a dry July, hopefully we'll start to see a little bit of rainfall there in August.
Beautiful stuff, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Jenny Horvat from the Weather Bureau. Steve in Woodside's text us on the Automasters text line, says it's minus 1.5 in Woodside. Whew. Stay warm, Steve.
Crikey.
That is nasty. Let's head to SOPOL. Senior Constable Kimberly Broad's on the line. Kimberly, there's been a robbery at Woodville just a couple of hours ago.
Yeah, that's right. It was just before 4 o'clock this morning. Police were called to a service station on Port Road. A man had entered the store, demanded cigarettes from staff. He's then produced a knife and jumped the counter and stolen cigarettes before leaving on a black and white bicycle. And he was last seen heading south on Port Road. And that suspect is described as being of Caucasian appearance, aged in his mid-30s, about 173 centimetres tall, with a chubby build. He was wearing a grey hooded zip-up jumper, a white T-shirt, blue track pants and white sneakers. So just asking if anybody saw a man fitting that description riding a bicycle around that time at 4 o'clock this morning, if they could give us a call on the Crime Stoppers number 1800 333 000.
He sounds like quite a piece of work. Kimberly, also, this is remarkable. A woman's been reported for drink driving in Parkside yesterday, 6 times over the limit.
Yeah, it was about 5 o'clock yesterday evening. We were called to Ramsay Street after a woman was seen staggering out of a Toyota SUV. Now, she had driven off prior to patrols arriving, but we did some follow-up inquiries at the registered owner's address. Now, the alleged driver was subsequently breath tested, where she's produced a blood alcohol reading of 0.307. More than 6 times the legal limit. So we've reported a 46-year-old Parkside woman for drink driving. She's also been issued with an instant loss of licence and her car's been impounded. So she'll be appearing in court to face those charges at a later date.
Unbelievable. Good stuff, Kimberly. Kimberly Broad there from SOPOL. Thanks for that.
It's time to talk footy on a Friday morning with our very own Fitzy. Thanks to Trust House Inspect Australia, the most qualified team in Australia for house inspection. Search House Inspect Australia. Fitzy, good morning to you.
Sweet goodness and the spicy cough, Pembo. How you feeling, big man? You back?
Mate, I'm right as rain. I had a fever for about 3 hours, but then I just stared it down. My trademark grit.
David, I tell you what you've done to your body over the years, COVID would be the least of its problems, that's for sure.
I know, I'm currently the subject of a major experiment by the CSIRO.
I think, Kate, there wouldn't have been any worries at all from your wife when you came home with COVID. I think your body would have handled that quite well.
No, just batted it away, mate. Batted it
Well
away.
done, mate.
You've had it, haven't you, mate?
Yeah, I've had it.
You would have been all right. I mean, with your background too, being a proud Nollunga chap, it's probably not the first thing that's you've had ingested over the years.
Exactly right. I mean, plenty of diseases down there, and that, like I said, that was the least worst out of any of them that I had, and that was just catching the 745 from Colonnade to Port Nollunga. No, it didn't affect me at all. The flu really rocked me, but we're all over it now. Hopefully, we can get through this, and we're immune to everything.
Hey, Fitzy, you had a nice moment on the front bar last week. 3 footy legends, yourself and the Jarman brothers, and this is what happened.
But I'd say, though, you were there was an advert that you were part of the player retention scheme in South Australia, and you boys, South Australia, never wanted to leave. So the question I want to ask to Darren is why you went to Hawthorn.
For money.
Good to get an honest answer these days.
Do you know what I did? I put up a post, and I said, you know what? We don't have characters in the game as much anymore. I mean, Jack Ginnivan, I feel sorry for that 19-year-old now, but how important it is to have characters in the game and good storytellers. And you know what, like Darren hasn't really done a big interview like that for a while, and we had to coerce him into it, and to have Andrew there was just awesome, and me at the desk being South Australian as well. But those stories, and can I tell you this, boy? Let me just give you one story. When we finished, we went up and had a few more beers upstairs, and the best thing about the front bar, I feel like it's like a footy club, because you play the game and then you go back and have a few beers and talk about the game with legends of football. And the boys were telling so many amazing stories that the producers at the end of the night, we finished up about midnight, and they looked at me and went, we've got to get them back next year because there's so many stories that we could still tell.
The way they tell them too. I was at a lunch at the Barbecue Inn a couple of years ago, two mates' lunch, and Jars spoke at it, and just it's sad that people maybe we feel like we can't show our personality anymore, but just the way these guys tell yarns, it's almost a dying Australian art form.
Well, what I love about the front bar as well is that they love, and they had Stephen Michael on from WA not long ago as well. And you know what? Victorian fans love seeing SANFL footage, SANFL footage, and they love watching the old waffle footage as well. And they play it. That's the best thing about it. Those tussles between North Adelaide, Glenelg and Port Adelaide in the 80s were unbelievable. Like, it defined me as a footballer growing up, because I thought to myself, I've got to be that tough if I want to be the best footballer out there. It's just amazing to watch.
Absolutely. So we'll rip into the tips, mate. Big game tonight, Freo and Melbourne. That should be a corker.
Isn't this going to be a belter? And you know what? I probably would have picked Melbourne, but it is over in Perth at Optus Stadium. So Melbourne have to bounce back at some stage. Like, I feel like they're still the best team in the competition, but they just can't get over the line. I really do think Longmuir, I reckon he'll get the boys up tonight, and the Dockers will win, and Dees will have another loss. So I'm picking the Dockers at home.
Then the ultimate get-out-of-jail merchants at the moment, Collingwood, versus the ultimate mathematical chance, Port Adelaide. Who's going to win that?
It's a tough one, because I can't go against the Pies. They seem to get over the line every week, so Collingwood will beat Port Adelaide at the MCG.
The Sydney Derby, mate. Who do you like there?
Yeah, you would have to think Sydney would win that easy. The Giants are really struggling at the moment, so I'll say the Swans.
Saints and the Hawks.
St Kilda will beat the Hawks.
Cats and the Dogs in Geelong.
Yeah, this will be a great game. Bulldogs are playing a lot better footy, but you can't go past Geelong. They're too good.
Now, can the Crows ruin Carlton's season on Saturday?
Well, it is at Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
Saturday night. When's the last... Carlton hasn't played at Adelaide Oval for a very long time.
Ages.
I'm going to go the Crows.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a roughie. You know what? I need something in my life to motivate me. And this is what Pembo getting COVID last week was the thing that motivated me. This week it's the Crows getting up against the Blues.
Then Gold Coast and the Eagles.
I'm going to go Gold Coast to beat the Eagles there.
Then Richmond with it all on the line against Brisbane.
Yeah, this is at the MCG, so The Lions haven't won in Melbourne for a very long time, or at the MCG, sorry, for a very long time. So I'm going to continue that tradition and the Tigers will get up.
And lastly, the Bombers and the Roos.
Yeah, Bombers will win that easy. They're playing great footy.
Good on you, Fitzy.
Good on you, boys.
Have 747 one of these days.
Yeah, no worries. Have a lovely weekend, lads.
Cheers, mate.
Trust House Inspect Australia, the most qualified team in Australia for house inspection. Search House Inspect Australia.
We're getting a lot of Meat Tray Friday entries thanks to Liam, Joanna and the team at my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road, Prospect. I love this one from Sue in Christie's Beach, and she's provided a photograph too. Sue writes, over the Sunday advertised a trophy that later became the Male Medal from 1955, and in front of the trophy is a pic of my dad, aged 21, accepting his award. He passed away in 1977, aged 43. Needless to say, I treasure it. Thanks for sharing that. And look, this was yesterday I mentioned the fact that we have 3 Ramsay Streets in South Australia, one in Mount Barker, one in Murray Bridge and one in Port Vincent. Well, this person hasn't provided their name, but what they have done is they've gone down the end of their street in Mount Barker and taken a photograph of Ramsay Street, one of the residents of Ramsay Street, Mount Barker. So there you go. If we've got any other Ramsay Street listeners, give us a buzz.
Absolutely. Let us know. The jokes may have finally come to an end after 37 years. Andy asked the question, sorry guys, forgive my ignorance, but why can't a cul-de-sac be a street? Because someone said earlier, that watching after 37 years notice for the first time last night, that Ramsay Street's a cul-de-sac, so it shouldn't be called Ramsay Street. Now, I've done a little bit of quick, half-baked internet research on this. It turns out the vast majority of these sort of road naming conventions are uniform around the world. We've tried to all roughly do the same thing. So I'll run through it, okay? And I bet we can find examples that don't fit this, but this is the broad idea. So something called a road, like Port Road, is a path that connects 2 points. Generally, roads head out of town or away from the heart of a city, okay? That's generally how it works. A street is a public road with buildings on both sides. So, confusingly, a street is a road, but a road isn't necessarily a street when it comes to naming conventions. Right? This is where it gets more simple. Avenues run perpendicular to streets, but also have trees and buildings on both sides. So if you've got a street, an avenue comes off of it. A boulevard is a wide street with trees and other vegetation on one or both sides, and often with a median strip in the middle.
Yeah.
Something that'll be called a boulevard. A court, which is probably should have been Ramsay Court, maybe. A street ending in a loop or a circle.
Like Knott's Landing.
Knott's Landing.
Sorry, I'm just confusing you.
And that's a court. A crescent is a winding curve road that attaches to another road at each end.
Yeah, I lived in one of them, Egan Crescent.
A drive is a long road that winds around a geographical feature, such as a river or mountain. I didn't know that one. Some of these kind of make sense, cool. But I wasn't familiar with that.
Like Rodeo Drive.
Yes. A lane, a narrow road that typically leads to a residential zone. Lanes are often found in rural areas. A place, a road or street with a dead end that's not a loop or circle. That makes sense. Terrace, a street following the upper portion of a slope. I never thought about that before.
I don't get terrace.
Yeah. I can't picture that.
It's not applied accurately in South Australia.
No, I wouldn't have thought. Because
there'd
be barely any. A way is a small street branching off a road. These passages are usually short and often feature a dead end, which that holds up as well. So that's our best attempt at answering that question, Andy, about Ramsay Street's proper name. Should be Ramsay Court, I reckon.
Fascinating detail.
How about that? You can regale your friends and entertain your family members with that for hours on end.
You go on mastermind with that, Will.
It's the 7.
Patience pays off, especially if you've been holding out for a great deal on a new Volkswagen. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen is now receiving truckloads of new Volkswagens. Yes, they're coming. And they're available at amazing prices. Remember Mawson Lakes Volkswagen for servicing too, with next day servicing and free loan cars. Get a great deal on Volkswagen now. Don't dilly-dally, dawdle or delay. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
Are you feeling frustrated with the lack of transparency your current home care provider gives you over your funding? As one of only a few home care providers offering true self-management, Homemade manages and tracks your budget together with you, so you know exactly where your funding is going. Even better, you could enjoy up to double the hours of support you currently get due to lower fees and charges. To find out more about switching your home care package, visit homemadesupport.com.au and book a free consultation today.
Feeling the burn? Save cash with Cheapest Chips Hot Buys.
Cheapest Chips.
Radiant 2 litre liquid or 2 kilo washing powder, a hot buy, $7.99 each. True Blue assorted 2 litre soft drinks, sizzling, only $2. Simple skincare range, scorching, $5.99. Direct from the UK chocolate range, Red Hot, any 2 for $6. Check out this week's catalogue for more hot buys in store and online. Save cash and live cheaper with Cheapest Chips Hot Buys now.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 16. With the 7 o'clock news, I'm Kendall Brettig.
FIVEaa Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. FIVEaAextra.com.
Australia has led 72 teams of athletes into the stadium for the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony in the UK. Curry-Ann Greenbank's there.
30,000 spectators are packed into Alexander Stadium here in Birmingham for the opening ceremony. Others cramming into live sites like where we are, a fan zone in the heart of the city, as Australian athletes led 72 nations and territories in the Parade of Nations. There have been cheers as the Red Arrows flew overhead, dazzling performances, and the arrival on stage of Prince Charles and Camilla. Prince Charles set to deliver a speech on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen to officially open the Commonwealth Games.
A service station has been robbed at Woodville this morning. A man entered the servo on Port Road just before 4 and demanded cigarettes. He then pulled out a knife and jumped the counter. He stole a quantity of cigarettes and rode off on a push bike along Port Road. Parents are being urged to get their kids vaccinated, with children reporting very mild COVID-19 side effects or none at all. More from Katie Fuller.
The National Centre for Immunisation Research and Surveillance has found just a quarter of children between 5 and 11 had a reaction to their first vaccine dose. Sore arms, headaches and muscle pain were the most common symptoms and typically disappeared within a day. Experts are encouraging parents to get their children vaccinated as the Omicron wave intensifies. Only 53% of those aged 5 to 15 have received their first dose.
The US and Chinese leaders have warned each other over Taiwan during a lengthy phone call. More from the BBC's Barbara Pletasher.
Chinese media said Xi Jinping had emphasized that Taiwan belonged to China and there was no room for its independence, and that the U.S. should stick with its one China policy. That means Washington recognizes Beijing as China's one government, but only acknowledges its claims to Taiwan. Otherwise, playing with fire will set yourself on fire, President Xi is reported to have warned. The Chinese have said they would respond forcefully if the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi followed through on plans to visit the island. They say it would be a severe provocation. The administration has stressed Congress is independent and it cannot dictate what the Speaker does.
NASA is planning on bringing rock samples from Mars back to Earth. The mission will now include the use of 2 helicopters to retrieve samples from the red planet. The samples won't return to Earth until 2033. A litany of famous and family faces have made a reappearance on our TV screens as the Channel 10 soap Neighbours came to an end last night. 49 former cast members returned, including Kylie Minogue, Guy Pearce, Jason Donovan and Natalie Imbruglia. Margot Robbie's character Donna made an appearance via a Zoom call.
My years living on Ramsay Street were honestly some of the best of my entire life. They all stood by me, even when I invented the struggle error.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Let's start with football. Port will have a light training run today ahead of taking on Collingwood at the MCG tomorrow, hoping to end the Magpies' 9-game winning streak. Lockie Jones, Trent McKenzie and Xavier Dersma are back for the Power. Dan Houston is out due to concussion. Riley Bonner has COVID. Tom Cleary and Willem Drew have been dropped. And the Crows are up against Carlton tomorrow night at Adelaide Oval. Tom Doedee is being rested while Josh Worrell will take his place. Still on footy, Joel Selwyn will play his 350th game tomorrow night against the Bulldogs. Selwood will become the first cat in VFL-AFL history to make the milestone. His teammate Mitch Duncan's told Fox Footy Selwood has evolved as a leader.
I reckon he's got more relaxed, a lot more probably older heads around him that he can relate to. But yeah, gee, he still drives the standards. You don't want to be walking to a cone. I still remember in my second year, I just didn't jog through to the cone, and he gave me what for.
And the round kicks off tonight with Fremantle hosting Melbourne in Perth, and you can hear all the action from that one right here on 5AA. Well, four-time Formula One world champion Sebastian Vettel has announced he'll retire from the sport at the end of the season. To rugby league, Manly has lost its game to the Sydney Roosters after a week marred by controversy over the Pride jersey. 7 Manly players refused to take the field. Those same players now say they're prepared to wear the jersey next season and just wanted to be consulted first. The Roosters won last night's game 20 points to 10. And that's the 5AA sport.
Now to the traffic.
Road plates in use, Regency Park on the north-south motorway at the Days Road exit with the speed reduced. Roadworks McGill Road, Penfolds Road up in McGill, both directions affected there. Looking all right for the Southern Expressway and Freeway. You'll still have closures around Decathlon Terrace, Rundle Street, Kent Town for the Illuminate Festival. That'll all reopen at the end of the weekend. Need some space? Well, right now at 40 Winks, you can get any size mattress for the price of a single. Hurry in Sunday. T's and C's and exclusions apply. 40 Winks, serious about sleep. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny, heading for 16 today. A shower or two developing tomorrow, 17. Then showers on Sunday, 15. And a shower or two for Monday as well, 15. At the moment, 7. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
7:06. Good morning to you. If you're joining us for the first time on this Friday, the 29th of July. It's Meat Tray Friday.
Bit of Eye of the Tiger to get you up and about as well.
Get fired up. It's
Nothing
a Friday.
motivates you like this song.
Jump out of bed, realise it's cold, and jump straight back in again.
From memory, this was the song Steve Waugh used to listen to before he went out.
Was it?
Yeah. He loved it.
I didn't think Steve Waugh listened to anything that wasn't sort of classic Australiana. That's how I like to picture Steve Waugh.
He did
John Williamson.
He did a
from
compilation record years ago that you could buy. I reckon some of our listeners might even have it, but it was like Steve Waugh's motivational hits, and this was on it.
Well, there you go. As endorsed by Steve Waugh. The meat tray today, thanks to Liam, Joanna and the team at my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road, Prospect. Talking memorabilia this morning. What has pride of place in your house? Had some great stories in the first hour of the program. Everything from motorsport to infant Footscray jumpers.
And a giant Lost in Space robot.
A giant Lost in Space robot too.
The long-suffering Diane has in her house.
Couple of things to be wary of around Adelaide this morning. The north-south motorway, Angle Park's slowed down to 40 k's an hour due to roadworks for 500 metres past Days Road. So due to works, the north-south motorway restricted to 40 k's an hour for northbound traffic, 500 metres past Days Road. And there continues to be restrictions on bus services in the hills, the T840, the 84X and the 861, all impacted is the turn of phrase that Adelaide Metro like to use as a result of COVID staff ability issues they're having at the moment. So check the website and they'll get you across any of these sorts of delays. Speaking of COVID, but by way of people, not only tangentially, by way of either a lack of availability or indeed just because how it's restricted migration, we have record levels of unemployment at the moment. Record levels, I should phrase it differently. Record levels of employment. Unemployment is at record lows. But that in and of itself creates problems. The Royal Show is 36 days away. Starts on the 3rd of September, runs through to the 11th. And the show are desperately looking for people that might want to work there.
It requires upwards of 10,000 staff every year, so a huge drive for employment. So that's made up of more than 400 commercial exhibitors. We've got judges, we've got stewards, we've got security. It's probably with a great attitude. Many hands on deck to help the show happen. About
$28 an hour for most of the jobs, sort of in the Showbag Pavilion and so forth.
Well, when we've done our show at the show. Remember that year I went to try to get the lowdown on the truth behind the Dagwood dog?
Yes.
And every single person who was working there and they had these giant, like a bar mix on steroids. It was like a giant commercial mixing wand, and they were making the batter for the Dagwood dogs in like what was the equivalent of like a 44-gallon drum. But all of the people who were doing it were Brazilian backpackers. And with the collapse in international travel, there's so many hundreds and probably thousands of younger people who would normally be in Australia on a gap year or just, coming here for a few months or something, who do that sort of seasonal work. And last year, I think it was the citrus industry had real problems getting enough people to pick fruit because they just weren't getting the seasonal workers. So if you're a kid at school, like, talking before about part-time jobs, every kid should have a part-time job. If you're doing year 10 or your kid's doing year 10, your grandchildren are doing year 10, year 11, and they want to earn a bit of spare dough, get in touch with the show, because all those part-time sort of carny jobs, vacancies ahoy.
And you can imagine, bricks and mortar businesses that can offer you a job all year round are struggling to fill vacancies. So something that just pops up for 8 days and needs thousands upon thousands of people, it's going to be dramatic. Now, the old saying about the US economy and its effect on Australia was when the US sneezes, Australia catches a cold. We had Jim Chalmers yesterday, the Treasurer, make a ministerial statement to Parliament about the state of the Australian economy, the challenges that lie ahead. And I think headlined by the fact he's now saying, whilst wages of growth's picked up as a byproduct of trying to combat inflation, it's going to stall for a while before being something that'll start heading again in the right direction. It's worth having a look at what's happening in the United States. US President Joe Biden has spoken overnight following release of their data for the second quarter of the year, where the US economy has shrunk for the second quarter in a row. Now, by Australian standards, that would mean they're in a recession. The US doesn't call it recession on the basis of that alone. They have other measures that they like to feed into it. So they're saying they're not in recession. But if the data they had there, we had here, we'd be saying we're currently in a recession. Here is US President Joe Biden.
Let me just give you what the facts are in terms of the state of the economy. Number one, we have a record job market of record unemployment of 3.6% today. We've created 9 million new jobs so far, just since I became president. Businesses are investing in America at record rates, Foreign business like SK and others are investing in America. Hundreds of millions and trillions of dollars, sum total. $100 billion in semiconductor investments already announced by Intel, Samsung, and Texas Instruments. More than $100 billion in electric vehicle battery investments by Ford, General Motors, Hyundai, Tesla, and more. And just last week, as I said, SK Corporation of the Republic of Korea announced $22 billion in new investment in semiconductor batteries, chargers, and medical devices, creating another 16,000 jobs here in America. And this is powering the strongest rebound in American manufacturing in over 3 decades. That doesn't sound like a recession to me. Thank you very much.
It's interesting, the contrast between the two countries. In Australia, we're saying it's going to be tough, and there is downturn and slowdown, despite the fact there is incredibly good levels of employment. In the US, they're saying, well, we can't be going badly. Look how many people are employed.
I thought the scariest figure that came out of the US this week was that their central bank put up interest rates by 0.75%.
That was probably on the cards here in Australia until the most recent CPI data didn't hit the high end of the potential projections, but that wasn't entirely out of the question. 8223 0000 is the number. Let's turn our attention to something that is, I think, a nice story to think about. One of the enduring images, I think, of the pandemic the last couple of years was seeing all the planes from the various airlines out near Alice Springs, out in I didn't even know we had the airline car park of the world here, but they were all out there. Well, the good news is they're starting to leave. The Cathay Pacific has
only not on time.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hopefully it'll alleviate some of those concerns.
Well, it was going to leave, but we just cancelled it.
Cathay Pacific has 70 planes out in the middle of the Australian outback. They're looking to get back to their Hong Kong base. Takes about 4 weeks to fire up one of these planes, get it cleaned up and ready to go. Here's Ben O'Connell, who works for Cathay, whose job has been maintaining these planes out in what's effectively the middle of nowhere.
They're in really great condition. We've really made an effort to secure these aircraft and make sure that they've been stored exactly how the manufacturers recommend, and the dedication and the commitment from all the team has been absolutely fantastic. Well, basically, when they're ready to go back into service, after we've completed all the checks and during the inspections, they do get a really thorough wash down. That just ensures that we can make sure that they're in the best possible condition for their flight back to Hong Kong. They are 100% in their best flying condition. We look after them and we treat them with a lot of care. They're a very big responsibility, and of course they're a very expensive asset.
Amazing, isn't it?
It always made me feel a little uncomfortable thinking of them out there and getting covered in dust and engines and full of it. But they've
like having an old car. Does someone have to go out there and turn it on every month?
That's what I think so. And Channel 7 had some footage that I saw that was spectacular. They looked, because they'd been prepared to leave, they looked immaculate. So they're sitting there in this red dust on this sort of semi-tarmac that acts as the car park. And it looks like everything you put out there for 10 minutes would be dirty. But there's rows and rows of these immaculate planes that have all been prepared, ready to go.
Some of the crazy stuff that's happened in the last 2 years, I'll tell you what, if I probably would have got killed if I'd done it by my wife, she would have thought I'd lost my mind again. But one of the craziest things was early on in 2020, when all of the flights were just completely shut, as a brief, short-term way to make a bit of dough. You know, Qantas auctioned off, well, they didn't auction, they sold about 1,500 of their drinks trolleys. So that when the hosties come down the aisle, but the thing was they included all the miniature spirits bottles.
Oh.
So you could get imagine that. Imagine having a party at home with, we'd like to put your chair in the upright position and can I offer you another Bloody Mary, sir? But I think they were like $800. And I think it's the kind of thing you go, what the hell?
Yeah, felt like a good idea at the time.
I'll tell you what, Diane, who rang in before, she's probably lucky her husband didn't hear that, given he shelled out who knows how much money to buy a lost-in-space robot. Oh, he sounds like exactly the kind of ideas man who'd love a Qantas drinks trolley as well.
I think if only he knew. He's kicking himself.
Yeah, that's right.
And he could win a meat tray. If you've got a piece of memorabilia or something that you that has pride of place at home, like maybe a drinks trolley from Qantas.
How good would that be, though?
8223
Friday night drinks.
You could win yourself a meat tray this morning.
Sorry, I spoke over the number.
That's all right. People know. 8223 My local butcher, Chanella's 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. Let's check traffic thanks to Bloom at Glenside. Prestige apartments for discerning boomers. Register at bloomglenside.com.au.
Looks to be travelling okay at the moment through Anzac Highway, Grand Junction Road, the Southern Expressway and Freeway. Speeds reduced on Glenburn Road between McGill Road, Glen Corner for ongoing resurfacing works. Other works too happening up at McGill Road, Penfold Road, McGill. Enjoy a chicken meal like no other from a Porto. Whole succulent chicken, flame grilled and basted with your choice of sauce and 2 delicious sides, all for just $24.95. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Leon Biner.
Some SA Health data about the fact that hospital patients only know that they've got COVID after their admission. Let's talk to Health Minister Chris Picton.
It certainly is a concern that we have a lot of people who are coming to hospital at the moment for COVID issues, but they don't yet know that they have COVID.
9 till 12 weekdays.
A lot of the people who are coming to hospital, we could be keeping out of hospital if they knew that they had COVID.
As SA as Leon Biner. As SA as AA.
I feel like I've been counting sheep all night.
Sounds like you need circadian.
Don't you mean circadian rhythm?
No, circadian. It's prolonged release melatonin and it helps improve sleep quality.
Circadian?
Yeah, circadian. You can ask your doctor or your pharmacist if it's right for you.
Thinking melatonin? Think circadian. Sleep better, live better. Visit circadian.com.au for more tips on sleep. For people 55 years or older, ask your pharmacist about this product.
20 years ago, Toyota set the standard for hybrid vehicles with the iconic Prius. Today, they're still leading the way with their Toyota hybrid technology for a cleaner, greener future for all Australians. Jarvis Toyota is Adelaide's home of hybrid. They can get you behind the wheel of your own small, medium or large sedan or SUV with best-in-class fuel economy. Work towards a better future together with Jarvis Toyota. South Road, Clovelly Park, Adelaide's home of hybrid.
Wednesday is a special day at Wallace Cinemas. It's Seniors Day with free morning tea or coffee before your movie. It's your choice of movies from Bobby's classics like The Great Escape and An American in Paris. It's new release movies like Where the Crawdads Sing, Good Luck to You Leo Grand and Phantom of the Open. It's homemade choc tops with Golden North ice cream and freshly popped popcorn. Wednesday is Seniors Day at Wallace Cinemas. Visit wallace.com.au or download the app for session times.
The Barossa Valley is a place where things mature well and the locals really appreciate good vintage, which is why it makes sense to make the vine change and call the Barossa home. Barossa Village in Anguston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa gives you the retirement lifestyle you deserve. 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes are now available in safe, connected communities under an hour from the city. Mature well and let it breathe at Barossa Village. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
Harvey Norman, your premium Optus dealer. Get the new Google Pixel 6a 128GB for $0 upfront when you sign up to a new Optus $69 per month SIM-only plan for 24 months. Plus, receive a bonus $150 Harvey Norman gift card. Offer ends August 8. Minimum cost $1,650. Not available with other offers. In-store only. Cancellation fees, terms and conditions apply. Visit Harvey Norman, your premium Optus dealer.
Go, Harvey, go!
Silence. It's uncomfortable. We start to think. We start to wonder if something's wrong. If we're wrong. In silence, there's doubt. And it's silence that 3 out of 4 job seekers hear after applying for a job. People should matter more than that. Zoom recruitment. Make people matter.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide for Adelaide. 9 News.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
Probably the best song ever written right there.
It's a great
Pretty
song.
close.
21 minutes after 7. We'll talk sport in a moment. Then after 7:30 today, we're flashing back with Michael Smith from 7 News. We're also off to Canberra to wrap the first sitting week of the 47th Australian Parliament. Phil Curry will be our guest when we do that. The meat tray today, thanks to Liam Jane and the team at My Local Butcher Chanellas, has us talking about all things memorabilia. Emma, good morning.
Hello. How you going?
Good, thank you, Emma. How are you?
Excellent, thanks. So, talking to you about a piece of memorabilia my husband organised.
Yeah.
So, he went to the Sydney Olympics and he saw this mountain bike rider and he said to his friends that one day he might win the Tour de France or something. He looks pretty good, so he decided to get a Guernsey, like the riding top, whatever we call those.
Yeah.
And he got Cadell Evans to sign it along with Stuart O'Grady and Luke Roberts.
Oh, you're joking.
Wow.
And then it's got photos of them on the side. So we've got lots of memorabilia though, but that's one that he picked out. But yeah, we've got Steve Waugh and Adelaide Oval before the Ovals stands were built, and the Cathedral and Melbourne Cup, all the winners. Heaps. We've got heaps of sporting memorabilia, but that's.
Have you got them all in a special part of the house, Emma?
Oh my God, they're everywhere. Because when we redid the back room, I said, "Can we please just, take some down?" But slowly they've just increased.
Oh, that's excellent. Oh, you sent us a picture of it too. That's lovely. The cycling shirt. That's sensational. Good on you, Emma.
Yeah.
Did well picking talent, the husband, though, too. That's pretty remarkable in 2000 to get all those guys. Absolutely. Emma, good on you. You're in the running to win the meat tray. My Local Butcher, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. Coming up next week on 5AA, the Undie Drive is back in a big way, where we are raising as much money, rattling the can for the great people at Hutt Street Centre and Catherine House. You need to do this. Make sure somehow, some way, you've got 5AAUndiedrive.com.au, either printed in your phone, saved as a bookmark, or imprinted on the back of your eyebrows. 5AA Undie Drive. Eyebrows.
Or eyebrows.
Look, wherever you put it. As long as
case, eyebrow.
As long as it's handy. FIVEaa undiedrive.com.au, supported by the Turf Farm.
We want to break the world jocks record next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jocks/bras/briefs.
That's right. Well, the financial value of them.
Last time it was $35,000 for Catherine House. I reckon we can do 50K.
Tough South Australian Turf, supporting South Australians doing it tough. That is the Turf Farm, who have come on board as our major sponsor. If you're tuning in for the first time and you've missed this is one of the initiatives that we are most proud of here at FIVEaa.
We love it.
We started it from the ground up. It started with just bins that we tried to get full of jocks and socks and bits and pieces for men and women for Hutt Street Centre and Catherine House. It grew, it evolved,
it became
like an
logistically
organism.
tough. I reckon we had 40 Sulo bins worth of undies upstairs after like the second or third year that we did it. Remember that? Like,
yeah,
we had to
huge.
use one of the empty floors upstairs. It looked like bin night in Elizabeth. Like there were just bins everywhere.
Well, now it's about the money. It's about the money that gives a little bit more of an opportunity for Catherine House and Hutt Street Centre to spend it how they might, and it'll manifest in a number of ways on air. There'll be all sorts of crazy challenges that'll take place. I hear the Challenge Bowl is back this year, where if we hit a certain level of money donated, we dip into the bowl, and who knows, someone will have to do something that's a little bit out there. We will have all sorts of ways in which you, the listeners, can get involved. But make no mistake, the idea is raising money. So if you're the other thing we love to do, this is almost our favourite thing. In fact, I reckon this is our favourite thing. If you're a business that's ever thought, I've never really gotten to the advertising game, well, don't worry about it. Just donate to Catherine House and Hutt Street Centre. Make sure you let us know what you've donated.
Gratuitous plugs await.
And we will say things about you that may not even be true.
Yeah, we'll say things about your competitors.
We have
clearly defamatory.
Exactly. When it comes to the undie drive, we have no morals beyond raising money for these charities. So
totally.
There's no ethical concern about how hard we'll push your business.
None whatsoever.
So on Monday morning, if you're a business, make sure you're part of it. Gabby in Athelston for Meat Tray Friday. Morning, Gabby.
Morning.
What do you got for us, Gabby?
We've got a signed Sharon football from the 97 grand final team of the Crows. Still to be fully pumped, it says it was in its box.
Is it a traditional red one, Gabby, or is it one of those red, blue and yellow ones they did?
No, it's a traditional red one.
Did you buy it at an auction or something, or did you manage to get around and get all the signatures from the people?
Well, yeah. Let's just say we got it the latter way.
Oh, okay. You didn't know. Kidnapped. There's nothing illegal went on, did it, Gabby?
No, signed by the team, the coach, yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that'd be nice. Can you?
25th anniversary dinner tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonder if we can get some of the team just to touch it.
Yeah.
Might just refer a bit of the magic from that era.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Gabby. All right, let's talk sport whilst we've sort of gotten there by accident. Book your service online at North Point Toyota to win the cost back. It is the North Point way. Last night, Rowie was chatting with Charlie Dixon, as he does regularly, and they talked about the Sack Ken Hinkley sign that was put up by some Power fans.
Ken had his presser today, and I'm glad in today's presser he addressed, I'm going to call him a lowlife, who hung that Sack Ken on the signpost. If you haven't heard your coach, here he is.
I think it's a really poor thing to do. I think it's a really weak thing to do. It doesn't worry me. I move on with my day and I move on with my week and I prepare my team the best I possibly can. I think that every football club has great passion in it, but there's a line.
Yeah, there is a line, pure class. Did you see it, Charlie? Did you boys talk about it?
We saw it on online. I think that's where I saw it anyway. But very poor, and it just shows the lack of intelligence and what they know about the game, and it's very, very little.
Passion's one thing, and I know when I speak to Timmy G about this, he defends Port supporters that do cross the line. I just thought the class of Ken. Hey, he's got a family, a job, mates, and you're right. It's uneducated.
It is, definitely, and people think that they can have the right to do that sort of thing, and they don't think it affects anyone, but seriously, he's a human being at the end of the day, and people forget about that, and that's stuff that sort of frustrates me, is that a lot of people forget that we're actually human beings trying our absolute best to do everything we can to win football games and to give our fans the best results, not only for ourselves, but for them as well, And for a coward like that to come out and do that sort of stuff, I mean, seriously, you have a look at yourself. I mean, it's a disgrace.
I think Charlie Dixon, I thought he emerged as a person of great character this week. I know a lot of Crows fans probably can't stand the guy, but they should read the article that the Tizer did about when I think he broke his leg a few years ago, and talking about the emotional toll that took on him trying to come back, when he was basically in tears in the car park at Albert and trying to get himself up for training. And for a bloke like that, a hard bloke, an ostensibly hard bloke, to actually talk about how he found himself in a difficult spot mentally was a really good thing for him to do. And he just seems like a stand-up bloke.
Completely. You know the problem, and the silliness of an act like this is, if you're trying to pressure the club to make a change because you're not happy with how it's going, the easiest way for them to ignore you is to dismiss you as a bunch of unintelligent morons.
So technically it's not shrewd.
No.
You're trying to get rid of technically.
The most shrewd thing is circulating the statistics about Port's record against the top 4 and the top 8 in the Hinkley era, which is the 32% winning record against top 8 sides and a 21% winning record against top 4 sides. It's only ever hit 50% in Ken's second year in 2014. That's the kind of thing that brings to bear pressure. The moment you go vandalising and doing dopey stuff, you just get dismissed as a bunch of morons.
Oh yeah, and I think too, if you're going to make the board, which ultimately decides these things, much more bolshy in favour of keeping him.
Completely.
Because you don't want to cow to the mob.
It's just stupid. More from Rowie tonight, ahead of the big round of footy ahead. Book your service online at North Point Toyota to win the cost back. It is the North Point way.
We've all been there. In the beginning, it's a rush. You're in love, but you've fallen out of love. Take your car to Edwardstown Mazda to see what it's really worth. Why risk selling your car privately when Edwardstown Mazda can give you a fair price on the spot? Do you still love your car? Why not upgrade to a new or pre-owned Mazda at Edwardstown Mazda, 862 South Road. Edwardstown Mazda, LMBD 207 428.
Hi, Shayna Blaze here. As a designer, I know how tricky it can be to design the perfect bathroom. So I teamed up with Beaumont Tiles and created complete bathroom packages. Drop into Beaumont's for complete bathroom packages designed by me.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 16 with the 7:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. physioextra.com.
Australia has led nations and territories into the stadium for the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony in the UK. The extravaganza reflecting on Birmingham's history, including a nod to the Industrial Revolution. Dozens of red, white and blue British cars were used to form the Union Jack. And Prince Charles read out a message on behalf of the Queen.
Your hard work and dedication, particularly in recent times, have been an inspiration to all of us. It now gives me the greatest pleasure to declare the 22nd Commonwealth Games open.
And that audio thanks to Seven. A service station's been robbed at Woodville this morning. Senior Constable Kimberly Broad says a man entered the servo on Port Road just before 4 a.m. and demanded cigarettes.
He's then produced a knife and jumped the counter and stolen cigarettes before leaving on a black and white bicycle, and he was last seen heading south on Port Road. And that suspect is described as being of Caucasian appearance, aged in his mid-30s, about 173 centimetres tall, with a chubby build.
More than 200 cannabis plants have been seized from 2 houses in the northern suburbs. Police received a tip-off cannabis was being grown hydroponically at a house on Housey Road at Elizabeth East. 124 cannabis plants and hydroponic equipment was found inside. Another 60 plants and 50 seedlings were discovered at a house on Deneen Road at Parafield Gardens. No one was home at either property. The US economy has shrunk for the second quarter in a row, fueling fears of a recession. But US President Joe Biden says the economy's on the right track.
But let me just give you what the facts are in terms of the state of the economy. Number one, we have a record job market. We've created 9 million new jobs so far, just since I became president. Businesses are investing in America at record rates. Foreign business like SK and others are investing in America.
A dinosaur fossil has sold at auction in New York for more than 8 million Australian dollars. The 77-million-year-old skeleton belonging to a relative of the T-Rex. After 37 years, the final episode of Neighbours is aired in Australia. Guy Pearce played a leading role in the episode, while Holly Valance and Natalie Imbruglia also made small appearances. Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan's characters Scott and Charlene returned in the final part of the episode, arriving in a car with the song Especially for You playing on the radio, a song they recorded together in 1989.
Especially for you.
Wow. Look at this, huh? Crazy. We made it, huh?
Home sweet home.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
New Mitsubishi Triton with 10-year warranty, 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
And wow, it's Tom Wren.
Yeah, home sweet home. Hey, Kendall. Let's start with football. Adelaide's players will have a light run today ahead of tomorrow night's match against Carlton at home. The Crows are looking to break a run of 4 straight losses and welcome back young defender Josh Worrell, who's in for the injured Tom Doedee. Meantime, the Power have made 3 changes for tomorrow's match against Collingwood at the MCG. Trent McKenzie, Xavier Dersma and Lockie Jones all return to the side. Meantime, Pies CEO Mark Anderson says they will continue to hold off contract talks with Jordan De Goey until the end of the year.
We were really clear with Geordie at the time that we'd leave those conversations to the end of the year, and we will. But what I will say is he's doing everything right. He's prepared right. We're looking forward to getting him back in the team.
De Goey returns from injury for the clash against the Power tomorrow, and Anderson says he fully expects Brodie Grundy to be at the Magpies next season. That's despite speculation he may be moving clubs. And some other footy news. St Kilda midfielder Jade Gresham's season is over. The 24-year-old succumbing to a knee injury. Scans confirmed a medial meniscus tear, and he'll undergo surgery to repair it. Well, the A-League fixture is out for next season, with the season to kick off with Melbourne City taking on Western United in a grand final rematch. That's on Friday night on October 9th. Adelaide United will begin its season away against the Wellington Phoenix on the Sunday. And Australia's women's cricket team will play their first T20 match at the Commonwealth Games tonight against India. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Regency Park Road plates in use on the North-South Motorway Days Road exit with the speed reduced. McGill Road, Penfolds Road, McGill has ongoing roadworks. Closures continue to Cadell Terrace, Kenttown at Rundle Road there for the Illuminate Festival. Southern Expressway, Freeway and Days Road all looking good. Burbank Homes is offering more space in your new home for free. Hurry! Limited time to upsize your home without paying any more. Search Burbank Homes for details today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny, heading for 16 today. A shower or 2 developing tomorrow, 17. Showers on Sunday, 15. And a shower or 2 for Monday, also 15. At the moment, just 5. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Need hot water? If you're not connected to gas, Trade Services SA can install a new heat pump hot water system in your home from just $995. That's a saving of more than 70% off normal price, all thanks to the government incentive programs, which encourages people to reduce energy. Stay warm this winter. Visit tssa.com.au to see if you're eligible. That's tssa.com.au. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, brace yourself, David, because this might come as a bit of a shock.
I find this out alarming, Will.
You don't need a pest exterminator's licence to be a dentist.
No, and I imagine you don't need a pest exterminator's licence to be an interior decorator either.
No, you don't. Radio announcer, breathe a sigh of relief. No hint of an exterminator's licence. But what about if you're a pest inspector?
Well, you'd think that surely they would need one.
No, just like everyone else. No need. I mean, why would they? You don't need to be an expert, just walk around.
Looks like a pest to me.
Yeah. There are some pest inspectors that can't do exterminations, which is just, high farce. So once you've had them out, they'll identify your pests, there's an ant, termites, mice, yep, you've got a problem. Then you'll say, all right, fix it. And they'll say, oh, no, you have to go speak to the other guy.
That's right.
I'm the guy who does his job. Yeah. You must be the other guy.
That's right. To quote from the great film The Departed, it is a complete waste of your time and money.
Mike Pearl from House Inspect Australia does building and pest inspections, and he's the most qualified team in Australia. Whether your roof's making noises or you've got a creepy crawly problem.
Who put the cameras in the back? They're licensed to track them. They're licensed to kill them. Go to pestinspectaustralia.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube.
The passing of someone close places unique stress on family and friends. At this time, Farrell and O'Neill Funerals are here to provide reassurance and peace of mind. Farrell and O'Neill offer creative guidance and advice to tailor a service that best honours your loved one. Whether a large gathering or a small, intimate service, Farrell and O'Neill share their generations of experience in tailoring a unique and meaningful farewell. Proudly SA family-owned and operated, because it's personal.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
"21 minutes to 8. Michael Smith shortly will flash back. John Blake coming up before 8 o'clock this morning. But now it's time to head to Canberra, where never a more relevant sound effect has been played, to catch up with Phil Curry from the Australian Financial Review. Morning to you, Phil.
Yeah, morning, fellas. Welcome back, Dave.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Good to hear your dulcet tones again, mate.
Yeah.
Hey, dulcet. We'll have a bit of a chat to you about the somewhat unnerving state of the economy and inflation and so on. But before we get to that, what's it been like watching the Libs? You know, they've been in power for the better part of a decade. Suddenly they're in the place no one in politics wants to be, on the opposition benches. What was the first question time like?
As I've said, Dave, many times, it's just, same script, different actors. Nothing changes. The opposition, Labor, would spend, the last year blaming the government for everything, and the government saying it's not in our control. Went to the other side, and the Liberal Party started blaming them, and they said it's not in our control. You know what I mean? It's just like everyone just swaps sides, but picks up the old script that was left on the desk for them. No, it hasn't changed at all, and it's still, I think it's going to be fairly sort of vigorous and rough and tumble, because Peter Dutton's not a wallflower, and
No.
he was straight into them from the get-go on, this abolishing the union, the ABCC, the construction industry watchdog, so straight into them over the CFMEU and all these sorts of things, and power prices, and and the cost of living and everything else. And so no, it was a good sort of tough fight. I thought it was a fairly equal week, and Labor was pretty good on their feet, firing back. But all this rubbish you hear every time there's a new parliament. Oh, it's going to be a friendlier parliament and more civil. I mean, you're an idiot if you believe it, and I never did. And I've heard it said. I've been around here longer than Moses, and it's the same. It's the same after every election, and it lasts about 1 second. So, but look, the new speaker's pretty good. I think if there's one difference, if there's one thing I've noticed that's different, is that it's a much more diverse parliament. You actually look across the place, and it's starting to look more like a cross-section of modern society.
You know what I thought was the best thing watching it from afar? The bit of it I got really excited about was seeing so many Indigenous people, particularly women, in the parliament, and also seeing what a cross-section of views they've got, be it like a more moderately conservative like Karen Little from SA, and then you've got Jacinta Price, who I thought spoke amazingly well, but then you've got, I think Linda Burney's a hugely impressive woman on the Labor side as well, and that's a refreshing and different thing.
And there's also a lot of people of Asian heritage and Indian heritage in there now. I mean, it's mainly all on the Labor side and the Independents. The Libs are still looking pretty pale and stale, but it really does. It's very sort of much more colourful parliament. But I still think they'll have the ideology beat out of them pretty quick, and as does happen. But look, I think it's going to be an even contest. As we've said, this government's inherited some huge problems. It's created some huge expectations. And the Libs aren't going to give them an inch, and it's going to be pretty willing, I suspect. Yeah.
So, Phil, following the CPI data coming out and the inflation numbers, the Treasurer made a ministerial statement yesterday on the state of the economy. What was your big takeout from it?
Big takeout is that inflation. Guess what? Stuff's expensive. If you haven't noticed, it costs a lot to live at the moment. It's going to get marginally worse over the next few months. So inflation's now running at 6.1%. He's now saying it's going to peak close to 8% by Christmas, but then it's going to sort of fall away pretty quickly. So what he's actually saying is, look, we just all got to hold on, hang on for the next 6 months or so, and then things are going to start moderating. And what he's asking for is patience on sort of wages and things like that, because if we start trying to chase these inflation figures with huge wage rises, we're just going to really blow the show up. We're going to businesses hanging on like everyone else for grim death, and we're going to push businesses over the edge and possibly risk making the inflation thing worse. So Labor went to the election saying, everything's going up except your wages, and we're going to fix that. Now he's still promising to do that. He's still promising that by the next election your wages will be increasing at or above the rate of inflation, but he says it's going to take longer now than we said it would, because inflation's higher than we thought it was going to be at the election, but they're still maintaining that promise. So that was really the key takeout.
Phil, appreciate your time.
On you guys.
Good on you, Phil.
Phil Curry from the Australian Financial Review. It's 16 minutes to 8 and time to a flashback ahead of Michael Smith's excellent 7 News segment, 6 p.m. on Sunday night. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will and Dave. We are jumping into the flashback DeLorean for a drive into history this week. Did you guys know that the first driver's licence in Australia was issued in Adelaide?
Did not know that.
No.
One of our many firsts in SA.
It was in 1906 to a scientist, a chemist called Dr. William Hargraves, and it was to commemorate that fact that the Bait of Birdwood was first held back in 1980. So we're going back to see what it was like back in those days. About 670 cars took part. It was $4 to enter, the funds going to the Christmas appeal. Cars before 1950 were able to enter. Let's have a quick listen to a brief report on that first event.
September 1980, and in Adelaide the inaugural Bay to Birdwood run celebrates the moment when motoring became an official part of Australian history. The route took the vehicles through Adelaide's northeastern suburbs and up to the hills, which would prove to be just a little hard going for some, but a casual, easy-going drive for others.
Only 42 years ago. That sounds like a military news report.
Does.
doesn't
Yeah, it does. It does. He sounds like the
The
guy who was
RAA
doing
will be
the
very
commentary when Sir Donald Bradman was batting.
Exactly. Love the RAA has been important over the years to help with all the broken down cars. But what I didn't appreciate was the involvement of the Army in those early days. Because you think 1980 was before mobile phones. So the Army was really important, using their radio systems to help communication during the first Bay to Birdwood. As I mentioned, it's 1950 cars for that first one. You can now enter a car that was made before 1993, which seems quite recent. I was thinking of tracking down my original car, Ford KA Laser, 1982. And of course, the trick is you've got to dress up in the costume of the era as well. So I was thinking maybe a downtown T-shirt, some acid wash jeans, and some Adidas Roams. You could probably get a pair of those I could borrow, Pembo.
I could lend you my white SAFM jacket as well if you want, Michael. you would have one of them as well, mate, being a child of the 80s.
I think I had a yellow 5AD wind cheater, yeah. And I've probably got an old 5AA one at home somewhere too.
We're currently wearing ours.
The Bay to Birdwood is back this year in October, having been COVID affected for the last couple of years, so it'll be great to see it back on the streets of Adelaide. And interestingly, it's partly due to our climate here that we have so many classic and vintage vehicles in such good nick. Remarkable climatic conditions here, so it makes for a great South Australian tradition.
Absolutely, it does.
Absolutely. Good on you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
Smith's Flashback, 7 News on Sunday night from 6 p.m. And in the spirit of that flashback, in fact, and somehow piecing that together with the meat tray question today, Vince says his piece of memorabilia is what I drive on a beautiful day. The first Aussie muscle V8 car to be put into Australian production, my AP6 Valiant, made in South Australia. Good on you, Vince.
What a great car.
And in fact, I think pulling all the threads of the story together, Dean Lightsview says, I have the 1948 Invincibles Australian cricket team original framed photograph, along with a signed bat of all players.
Wow.
That's the kind of thing you'd expect to only see at the Adelaide Oval, in a museum in a glass case somewhere.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Another terrific entry for the meat tray this morning, thanks to my local butcher at Chanella's 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. And a big congrats to Bernadette from Clovelly Park, was the first person to correctly identify the frozen sound effect that went off just before we spoke to Phil. That wasn't the sound of Canberra. And is off to see this terrific show that's leaving next week. You can still get tickets for under $100 though. Book at Ticketek. You'll see Bernadette from Clovelly Park there. Let's check traffic. Discover Bloom at Glenside. Prestige apartments for discerning boomers. Register at bloomglenside.com.au.
Regency Park road plates in use on the north-south motorway at the Days Road exit with the speed reduced. McGill Road, Penfold Road, McGill dealing with roadworks again today. You'll find them scattered along Glenburn Road as well between McGill Road and Glen Corner both ways. From bars to butchers and businesses in between. Stop paying FPOS fees. No terminal rental, no merchant fees. Visit smartpay.com.au. Minimum turnover and T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Great news for people on the move. Budget Car and Truck Rental have a new location, just north of the city at 354 North East Road, Clemzig. Open 7 days a week. So, if you're moving out or in, taking a load to the tip, or going on a big trip, you can do it all with Budget Car and Truck Rental. 7 metro locations, including their new site at Clemzig. Call 13 27 27. That's 13 27 27.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide tech guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Once upon a time, laptops were assumed to have less features than their desktop counterparts. Now, it's laptops like the HP Pavilion series that are stealing all the thunder. The HP Pavilion X360 is a two-in-one device, meaning it can be a laptop or it can fold into a touchscreen device. Streaming movies and TV, keeping in touch with video calls and generally getting things done is way more fun on an X360. Not only can you bend and flip with its 360-degree hinge, but it is also built for a marathon with long-lasting battery life. Equipped with an Intel i3, 8GB of RAM and a 256GB solid-state drive, it's the perfect computer for work, school or university. Get into your local Harvey Norman store now and grab the HP Pavilion X360 for only $898.
Check out this great offer at 5AA.com.au. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
You can go everywhere, man, at the Let's Go Caravan and Camping Show, man.
It's a huge show, and it's on this week. For tickets, go to caravanandcampingsa.com.au.
The latest caravans, camper trailers and RVs, a huge range of camping equipment, four-wheel drive accessories and everything else for your dream road trip with experts on hand to help.
There'll be lots to see and do. Shop, learn and be entertained.
The Let's Go Caravan and Camping Show, yeah!
It's on this week, so don't miss out.
Let's go!
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
9 to 8, Dion in Blackwood's called in. Morning to you, Dion.
Good morning.
How you going there, mate?
Good, and yourself?
Good, thanks. What have you got for us?
I have the Blues Brothers signed memorabilia of their whole movie script.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
Wow, how'd you get that?
Through an auction in America from a studio that was going broke, and they sold all of the stuff off.
So when you say signed, is it signed by what? By both John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, or was it signed by the people who wrote the script, or?
No, the whole movie crew.
Oh, really?
And I also got the original Terminator signed by Arnie as well.
Seriously, from the same auction?
It's from the same auction.
Do you have them framed up or anything, Dion? Like, are they on display?
In my dad's safe.
Yeah, okay. No, fair enough.
You'd think the script for the Blues Brothers would be massive because there's a lot of great dialogue in that film.
Oh, there is.
What a movie.
What an excellent piece of a couple of bits of memorabilia. Good on you, Dion.
That is such a good film. Every time that film's on TV, I just end up watching it to the end. I just love it.
Scott and Glenunga, good morning.
Good morning, boys. How are we going?
Good, thanks, Scott.
Welcome back, David, as well.
Thank you, mate. It's very kind of you.
That's good. My favourite piece of memorabilia, because he's my favourite athlete, is I've got an 8x10 photograph signed of Michael Jordan with a certificate of authenticity, and his tongue is hanging out in the photo after he's just dunked on someone.
Oh, that's exceptional. What era Michael Jordan do you know, Scott? You know what season it's from?
It was before he, retired and went to baseball.
Yep. So it's early 90s.
I'm not exactly sure. It'd be about the middle of his career.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, he could still get up there, and that would be spectacular, Scott. Thank you.
Good one, Scott.
Getting some terrific pieces of memorabilia.
He's a basketballer, wasn't he, Will?
Michael Jordan? Yeah. Don't play dumb, David. It's unbecoming of you. You're an intelligent man.
Played for the Utah Pacers.
He's Donald Trump's favourite, as it turns out.
That's what he said yesterday.
Yeah, much prefers him to LeBron James. If you love your food, be listening to Jade Robberin today just after 3 p.m. with Chris Jarmer joins over the 5AA Food and Wine Show thanks to Smeg. Was that Jarmer's had breakfast there last weekend?
Oh,
had
lucky
the croque
you.
monsieur. Oh my goodness, that thing.
Oh yeah, well, Chris brought some of them in for us a couple of weeks ago.
Unbelievable. If you're building or renovating, make sure your first choice is visiting the Smeg showroom at Debney Distributors. Taste the difference with Smeg and Sip and Save. Love that segment. Love Chris Jarmer and Jarmers and Jade Robran. So it's a happy marriage of all things that are good in the world. All right, let's hand it over to John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing, and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
Yes, this week the good news is that canned beer is going to be available at Adelaide Oval. It's about time. So much easier to carry. You can take a stubby holder. Fabulous.
Well, I love to watch my football at the Oval, and I like it when the beer is nice and icy cold. But drinking out of plastic cups just makes your fingers freeze. A can's much easier to hold. Lord, I love drinking from a can made of aluminium. I'm a recycling fan. I sit there with my favorite stubby holder in my hand, 'cause I love drinking from a can.
It's been described as madness by the police union, which is concerned they may be used as projectiles, putting police and public safety at risk.
Lord, I love drinking from a can, and I would never throw it 'cause you know I'm not a wasteful man. And when it's empty, it don't weigh much, so as a weapon, it's a pretty bad plan. I just love drinking from a can.
The other bit of huge news this week was the solving of the case of the Somerton Man after 73 years, or should we say Charlie Webb, a 43-year-old electrical engineer from Melbourne.
There was debate about his fate. We found him back in 1948. We didn't know who he was, if he was Russian or a man from Mars. Was he a spy or a crook? They found some code written in a book, but now we know it's very clear he's just a boring Melbourne engineer. We don't know just how he died, but we know now. The Somerton Man, we now know his name. The Somerton Man, he's the food stray. The Somerton Man, we got his DNA. The Somerton Man, we now know his name.
Oh, that's a masterpiece. John Blake.
Daryl Braithwaite's emotional tribute to the Somerton Man.
Who knew? Never imagined it'd be repurposed quite like that. More from John Blake after 8:30 when we go behind closed doors. We might squeeze in one more Metro Friday calls. Getting lots of good entries with people wanting to spruik their memorabilia. Trevor, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate.
Hey, listen, my sister has a letter from Jackie Kennedy, the First Lady.
Are you kidding me?
No, when JFK was shot, assassinated, we were living in a little country town called Yunta up on the Broken Hill track.
Yeah.
And my sister sent her a condolence card and received a letter from the White House.
That's
thanking her
remarkable.
for her feelings, yeah. So she treasures that, yeah. And is actually signed by Jackie Kennedy.
That's extraordinary. That's
yeah,
amazing.
so for a little country town, it was just addressed to her, care of Yunta, Australia.
What a nice gesture to have written to her as well in the first place.
Yeah, thank you. It was too. We all loved JF.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the good old days, yeah.
That's
Imagine how many letters they would have got, though, from around the world, and then to sit down and reply to them, to someone in Yunta. That's a great story.
I really like that entry. Oh, that's going to take some beating. She said we've got a lot of good ones, though. It's amazing how many pieces of truly unique memorabilia people have called in with.
Yeah.
Not just things, the old mass-produced 500 footballs with the signatures on them type stuff.
We should mention, too, we've still got this excellent Ramsay Street sign. If there are any real neighbours tragics out there who'd like one of these to bolt to the wall inside the pool room, look good in the pool room, wouldn't it? Ramsay Street.
Oh, yeah.
Classy.
Perfect. All right, 2 minutes to 8. 5AA News is on the way. Breaking 8 shortly. We'll give away that Ramsay Street sign. Anyone who wants to do a review of the last night's program for us, and also a meat tray, thanks to my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road, Prospect, all before 9 o'clock.
Win a car tonight. Bronze, silver or gold Sky City Rewards members could win one of 8 brand new MG3s valued at over $20,000. And there's one to be won at 8 p.m. tonight. Swipe your membership card at any kiosk, print your ticket and enter it into the barrel. Entry's free, and so is joining Sky City Rewards. You can join today. You must be there to win. T's and C's apply. Visit skycityadelaide.com.au for details. Licence number T22/790.
Hello, I'm Professor Michael Kidd. New oral treatments are now available to high-risk people to fight the effects of COVID-19 if you contract the virus. You can take these at home, and they're available for high-risk people, including many older Australians, immunocompromised adults, and First Nations peoples. You need a prescription, so talk to your healthcare professional now to be prepared. For more information and to find out if you're eligible, visit australia.gov.au.
Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
The Adelaide Central Market is open and it's not going anywhere.
We were there, you lose track of time a bit, 2 weeks ago, weren't we, Will? Exactly 2 weeks ago we were
First
doing
day back, end of first week back.
Yeah, doing the OB. And look, I go in there pretty much every week. You might notice some changes in the Central Market precinct as the exciting new expansion gets underway, but don't worry, take it from me, because your favourite traders, your weekly fruit and veg, your fresh seafood, your cheeses, your morning coffees, they aren't going anywhere.
That's right. For over 150 years, there's been nothing else like our market. From early morning till late at night, the market's a collective of people coming together to create the cultural heart of Adelaide the way we know best, through incredible food.
And look, the market's home to more than 70 passionate traders. They're familiar faces, making sure our market's overflowing with the best and freshest produce and specialty goods every single market day.
It might be growing, but the market you know and love is open throughout all stages of construction with plenty of easy undercover parking. Pay the market a visit. Trading as always, Tuesday to Saturday.
20 years ago, Toyota set the standard for hybrid vehicles with the iconic Prius. Today, they're still leading the way with their Toyota hybrid technology for a cleaner, greener future for all Australians. Jarvis Toyota is Adelaide's home of hybrid. They can get you behind the wheel of your own small, medium or large sedan or SUV with best-in-class fuel economy. Work towards a better future together with Jarvis Toyota. South Road, Clovelly Park, Adelaide's home of hybrid.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide for Adelaide. 9 News.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 16 with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Physio Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. physioextra.com.
Australian athletes are turning their attention to the competition as the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony wraps up. More from Curry-Ann Greenbank in England.
Here in Birmingham, the Commonwealth Games have now been officially opened by Prince Charles delivering a speech on behalf of the Queen. Duran Duran, the headline act, finishing out the 2.5 hour spectacle. Australian athletes led the 72 nations and territories out into the stadium for the Parade of Nations. 30,000 spectators watching on as the dazzling performances got underway. There's plenty of excitement here in the fan zone in the centre of the city. This is the biggest sports event to be held here in the UK since the London Olympics a decade ago.
A knife-wielding man jumped the counter at a Woodville service station this morning, stealing cigarettes. A staff member activated an alarm at the servo on Port Road just before 4. The offender fled on a push bike heading towards Woodville West. Police have seized more than 200 cannabis plants being grown under lights in the northern suburbs. Details from David Bruce.
2 houses have been raided over the past couple of days after police received a tip-off. One on Housey Road, Elizabeth East, where a hydroponic setup was discovered. 124 plants were seized. The other grow house was at Deneen Road, Parafield Gardens. Another 60 mature plants were taken away, along with 52 seedlings. A large quantity of hydroponic equipment was also confiscated in both cases. No one was at either of the properties. Police are now looking for those involved.
Researchers are confident a needle-free vaccine for COVID will eventually be rolled out at GPs and pharmacies. Early trials have found the patch is 11 times more effective against Omicron compared to a needle. Queensland University's Dr David Mullis says early trials have been promising.
Our previous work has shown that when we vaccinate mice with this patch, we can completely protect the mice from a COVID infection after a single dose.
China is warning the US not to play with fire. President Xi Jinping has delivered the harsh words to his counterpart Joe Biden over Taiwan during a lengthy phone call which lasted more than 2 hours. Chinese authorities are furious at unconfirmed plans by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi to visit the island. A dinosaur fossil has sold at a New York auction for more than $8 million Australian dollars. The 77-million-year-old skeleton belonged to a relative of the T-Rex. Sotheby's Senior Vice President Cassandra Hatton says Gorgosaurus should be better known.
It was a hunter. Very strong jaw. If you look at the teeth, they're like a double-edged steak knife, serrations on either side, so it was used for ripping and tearing. And while T-Rex is more well-known, Gorgosaurus, I think, was a more effective apex predator.
The founder of the Marine Conservation Society, Sea Shepherd, has resigned. Captain Paul Watson has cut all ties with the US division, saying his advice is being ignored and his removal from the board of directors has reduced his role to that of a figurehead. He's described the current board as too timid. He says he will remain as a director of Sea Shepherd Global, though. The final Neighbours episode is aired. It comes after almost 9,000 episodes of the Aussie soap, which revolved around the cul-de-sac of Ramsay Street. More from Alex Riddell.
A number of past actors returned to the fictional Melbourne suburb of Erinsborough last night, including Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan, reprising their roles of Scott and Charlene.
Wow, wow, wow. Look at this, huh? We made it, huh?
Home sweet home. Also playing a starring role last night was Guy Pearce, and there were brief appearances from Delta Goodrem and Natalie Imbruglia. A number of people from around Australia and the world congratulating all those involved on the 37 seasons. Victoria Police even paying tribute on social media, saying Eastern Region Police are now expecting the cul-de-sac to experience much less crime from now on.
Now turning to FIVEaa Sport.
10-year New Mitsubishi Triton with 10-year warranty, 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Adelaide's players will have a light run today ahead of tomorrow night's clash against Carlton at home. The Crows welcome back defender Josh Worrell, who comes in for Tom Doedee, who's injured. Captain Rory Sloane, meantime, continues his recovery from a knee injury, and he's told Rowie he's hoping to do some running in the next few days.
Hopefully run next week, but things change as well. Depends, like the knee sort of gets a little swollen here and there, so depending on how it pulls up, I'll assess, and maybe, hopefully, the back end of next week I might have a little trot, which will be nice.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Port Adelaide's players will fly to Melbourne today ahead of tomorrow's match against Collingwood at the MCG. 3 changes for the Power, who welcome back Trent McKenzie, Xavier Dersma and Lockie Jones. Tom Cleary and Willem Drew have been dropped, while Riley Bonner has COVID. And round 20 gets underway tonight with Fremantle hosting Melbourne. You can hear all the action from that match right here on 5AA. There was one game in the NRL last night to kick off round 20. The Sydney Roosters beating Manly 20-10 in a scrappy contest. In golf, nearly all players have completed their opening rounds at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, a PGA event in Detroit. American Tony Finau and Canada's Taylor Pendrith share the lead at 8 under, putting them 2 shots clear of the field. Defending champion and Aussie Cam Davis is 4 shots back at 4 under. Meantime, Greg Norman has confirmed Australia is being considered to host a tournament on the breakaway Live Golf Tour. To tennis, Aussies Alex de Minaur and James Duckworth will face off in their round of 16 clash at the Atlanta Open. That gets underway in the next hour. And in some cricket news, Sri Lanka has won the second test against Pakistan in Galle by 246 runs. Prabhath Jayasuriya with 5 second innings wickets. Meantime, South Africa has beaten England in its second T20 match by 58 runs. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now to the traffic.
Regency Park road plates are in use on the north-south motorway near the Days Road exit with the speed reduced for outbound. Other speed and lane restrictions, Glenburn Road between McGill Road and Glen Corner, through Poole Avenue, Dicot Avenue in Hampstead Gardens, just near the freeway at Piccadilly Road in Piccadilly as well. Bob Jane T-Marts look after you. Buy 3, get 1 free, plus instant cashback on top tyre brands. Call or order online today. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny and 16 today. A shower or two developing tomorrow, 17. Showers for Sunday, 15. And then a shower or two on Monday, also 15. At the moment, 8. More news as it happens on 5AA.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
Late after 8, breaking 8 coming up in just a moment. One hell of a meat tray we've got to give away as well, thanks to Chanella's. Love Chanella's, my local butcher, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. They
One of the best fruit and vegetable shops in Adelaide.
Really are.
By the length of the straight.
Spectacular.
Superb.
A nice way to start the weekend with a meat tray in your back pocket. I mean, it wouldn't fit in your back pocket, but you know what I mean. Just tell us about your best bits of memorabilia at home.
It'll look good if you tried. Oh, what do you got in your jacks, mate? Kilo of pork sausages. Sensational.
I'm just going to shoulder arms.
That's what I call accessorising.
Yeah. I'm just going to leave that one outside the
Stick a tomahawk steak down your pants. Why not?
Whatever works for you, I guess.
Whatever floats your boat.
Hey, you know what?
Whatever bakes your potato.
2022.
Yeah, let it rip. As Bob Catter said, let 1,000 flowers bloom.
What happens between a man and his meat is not my business.
Right. But I'm not going to waste another second of time talking about it when every 3 months someone gets attacked by a crocodile in far north Queensland. If you don't know what I'm talking about, folks, just Google bobcat a crocodile to see the funniest thing an Australian politician has ever said.
He had another one. Have you seen the rant he went on at the opening of Parliament earlier this week? It was fantastic.
I saw his question where he ran out of time and he kept talking and the microphone was off.
This is outside of Parliament. They said, how do you feel being the elder statesman? And he said he's going to use his ruthless cunning to get things go over the line. And it starts out being jovial, and then halfway through the switch flicks, and he starts raving on about, you know, the lack of work government's done to improve in the lifespan of Indigenous Australians. But start out as this joke about his ruthless cunning getting things done in Parliament. It's extraordinary. It goes for 4 minutes. The people asked him one question.
That guy is one of the most genuine eccentrics ever.
Yes.
And I mean that as a compliment.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing affected or put on about Bob Catter.
No, not at all.
I love the way his face, he looks like a police identikit photo. None of his features match up. It's like his nose has been stuck on. It's funny. And his hat.
Orazio Fantasia is coming up in a moment as well. Came back, played footy, kicked goals, did Orazio stuff last weekend. He'll join us in a few moments' time, but first it's time for Breaking 8.
One of the key questions about the Victorian branch of the CFMU's takeover of the South Australian branch is what's it going to mean for the local economy in terms of the cost of doing business on some of the building projects that are around town. There was a bit of discussion a couple of weeks ago focusing on the company Built Proprietary Limited. I can never say that word. They're currently doing 2 major projects here, the $1 billion Festival Tower on King William Street and also the $450 million development at 60 King William Street, which is the old Southern Cross site. Now, it's been revealed that that Built have already signed one of these much more generous enterprise agreements that the Victorian CFMEU insists upon for its members. The division is quite openly sort of boastful about that and says that one of the key reasons that the Victorian branch of the union has more members than any other division in the country is not just the size of the Melbourne economy, but also because the blokes who work for the union and women who work in building and are members of the union are much more likely to join up because under John Setka's leadership, and he's right, the union has a much better track record of getting more money out of building companies. Well, it's not just Built that has signed. We understand that Multiplex on projects here in Adelaide has also signed these agreements, and some of the conditions are extraordinary in terms of what's ever been seen before in South Australia. They include things like a 9-day fortnight, So you get a day off every 2 weeks. You also get an annual union picnic day, where you're paid by management so you can go and get on the terps with your mates at a union picnic. Sounds like a barrel of laughs. Other things in it, there's a provision where you get compensation if you're injured outside of working hours. So not injured at work. Like if you're injured at home, you get compo from the boss for sustaining injuries that have absolutely no relationship to your job. And then the base rate of pay is higher, $102,000 entry level. So if you're standing on a building site with a broom sort of sweeping stuff up, you get a minimum of $102,000 a year for that. Now, the Premier told us on the show the other day that he is, in the same breath, whilst taking a donation from the Victorian CFMEU, he's also concerned about the possibility of militant action, or my words here, but I guess you could say sort of extortionate action in terms of holding a gun to the heads of builders and saying you got to sign these generous new EBAs. Well, there's a couple of places for him to start in line with his commitment given on the show that he's going to look at the economic impact that the union has. The other thing is John Setka has not formally taken over the branch yet. It's my understanding that it's all going to be wrapped up next Wednesday. This is going to be one of the best attended union meetings, both by union members and also the media, that the state has seen for a very long time. The CFMU is holding an all members meeting at 5 p.m. next Wednesday at its South Terrace headquarters, where it is very strongly expected that overwhelmingly the SA membership will vote for the installation of John Setka as the State Secretary here in South Australia. So to the Premier, who was trying to take a level-headed approach to these developments on our show a couple of days ago, all I'd say is good luck.
15 minutes after 9, the Bob Catter infamous moment to which you were referring earlier. Here's a little bit of it.
I mean, people are entitled to their sexual proclivities. I mean, let there be 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But I ain't spending any time on it, because in the meantime, every 3 months, a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
The greatest non-sequitur in the history of politics.
It just doesn't get any less funny, does it?
No. That stands the test of time. All right, let's get back to the meat tray. Thanks to Liam Joyner and the team at my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. Rosemary, what's the piece of memorabilia you've got that holds pride of place?
Good morning, you two incorrigible chaps.
I like that. Oh, yeah, the compliments will get you everywhere, Rosemary.
I have Cliff Richard's gold, Terry Britton's copy of his gold record of Devil Woman.
Oh.
And it's signed by Cliff as well. So,
you are kidding me, Rosemary.
No.
That's a good tune, Devil Woman. Did you get to meet Cliff?
Not really, no. Ernie, Terry's dad, took all my programs back, and Cliff signed them all. And then this year he came back with the gold record of it, and it took him, the poor love, it took him 2.5 hours to clear it through customs because they kept wanting a value. And he said, there is no value. And Ernie had a speech impediment, and so every time, he got really upset over it, but he stood his ground, and they had to let it go through customs as no value.
Really?
Because there was, no value on it. There was, but that's my prized possession as well as my shrine to my grandson Gabriel.
How lovely.
Fantastic, Rosemary. Thank you. We might take one more before we go to a break. Brian's in West Croydon. Morning to you, Brian.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good, thanks, Brian.
Look, I'm just ringing to let you know my partner has a letter on official letterhead and signed by J. Edgar Hoover when he was the director of the FBI in the United States. It's a letter to my partner's father, who was a sergeant in SA Police in the early days and was largely responsible for the development and establishment of forensic science services here in South Australia, which was work that he received an Order of Australia for.
Wow.
But she has the letter discussing forensic techniques with J. Edgar, signed by and sent by J. Edgar Hoover.
My
extraordinary. Head of the FBI for donkey's years.
Oh, my word. Subject of countless films and accounts and books. One of the most debated and discussed figures in modern US history.
Kept secret files on politicians.
Yeah.
Led an extraordinary complex private life too.
Yes. Got to confess.
Had an interesting collection of clothes. Not all of them belonging to men.
The quality of memorabilia that we're getting is something else. Letters from J. Edgar Hoover and the Kennedys and all sorts of wonderful stuff.
Bit of fan mail on the text line here in relation to Breaking at 8. David, you have no idea. It's called income protection. An RDO is a day off for hours already worked. You are just an ignorant union basher. Why shouldn't workers get a good deal? Thank you for that.
All right, let's check traffic. Discover Bloom at Glenside, prestige apartments for discerning boomers. Register at bloomglenside.com.au.
Regency Park, you're getting road plates in the way up at the north-south motorway near the Days Road exit with speed reduced. Traffic running okay throughout the city. Anzac Highway and St Otterbabbin Drive. Getting some slight delays reported at OG Road as you make your way up towards North East Road, which is pretty standard for this time of the morning. Shop using the Coles app for an easy and convenient experience. You can even use it to find products when you're shopping at your local store. Download the Coles app today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide tech guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Who would have thought you could get a gaming notebook for under $900? Well, yes you can at Harvey Norman. The Acer Nitro 5 with 15.6-inch screen, dedicated NVIDIA GTX 1650 graphics card will deliver immersive visuals. It is driven by a powerful Intel i5 CPU, includes 16 gig of RAM and a 512 gig solid-state drive. The Acer Nitro has a minimalist design and a full backlit RGB keyboard combined with a user-friendly interface. The Acer Nitro 5 has a full HD resolution display for smooth and detailed visuals when gaming or multimedia content. Get into your local Harvey Norman store now to grab one of these Acer Nitro gaming computers for only $898.
Check out this great offer at 5AA.com.au. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Adelaide property values are at an all-time high. They've grown by more than 25% over the past 12 months with really strong buyer demand. In most areas, demand is greater than supply. Vendors are regularly getting multiple offers for homes with sold prices well above expectations.
Now, we know that our friends at Toop and Toop work across all suburbs, and we can tell you right now that in Torrens Park, they're working with 4,928 buyers, 5,221 in Prospect and 5,011 in Tusmore, and they're all searching for their perfect property in these specific locations.
If you're thinking of selling or would like to know how many buyers Toop and Toop are working with in your suburb, go to toop.com.au.
Hey, it's Callum here. It wasn't by chance that Edwardstown Mazda located themselves bang on South Road. They wanted to make it easy for people driving to the city, just like you, to get your car serviced. So no matter what make or model car you have, make a pit stop at Edwardstown Mazda for a logbook service. They can drop you into the city so you can forget about expensive parking fees, or borrow a new car for the day, which is what I like to do.
It's gotta be.
At Edwardstown Mazda, they'll do whatever works for you. edwardstownmazda.com.au.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide for Adelaide. 9 News.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings. 5AA Breakfast.
22 minutes after 8, thanks to Rainwise Pools, family-owned building pools in SA for over 15 years. Google Rainwise Pools, Adelaide.
Orazio Fantasia, intercepted almost by Orazio Fantasia. Orazio Fantasia, Orazio Fantasia, Orazio Fantasia, Orazio. Ho, 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 it's magic.
Well, the great news is this. Last weekend, he was back doing Orazio things. 3 goals, 2 in the Sandville. I'm guessing you think you should have kicked 5, Orazio, is that right?
Yes, as a true forward, yes, I should have kicked those 2 points.
3 goals, 2 though, mate. And you know, after such a long stint out of footy, and the Maggies have been pretty up and down. So to score the 2 points was no mean feat.
No, to have 5 shots on goal, I was quite happy to come back and be able to help, and I think we had around 17 AFL guys back in the Magpies team, so we did play pretty well. I mean, I was copping it even from the water boy. The Central District's water boy told me to retire. So that was quite funny.
The water boy told you. I tell you what, he's doing his bit to keep the reputation of Central's people intact, isn't he? You're even getting sledged by the water boy.
It was hilarious. I just kicked the third. It was in the last quarter, and he just started spraying me out of nowhere. That was amazing.
After you've kicked 3, he gets into you. I understand if it's the fourth quarter and you haven't got your hands on it, but you've had 5 shots on goal. Everyone knew you'd play well once you got back out in the park. I get the big question is, how did you feel 24 or 48 hours later? How'd the body hold up?
Horrific.
Really?
I was very sore. Oh, just general soreness, not in terms of like my quad or anything like that. I was just really, really sore just because I hadn't played a game I had played a game 3 weeks prior, but just in and out, there's no continuity. So, yeah, I was pretty sore, but that's what extra recovery does, and then I ended up getting sick this week, so I've had a bit of an average week, but no game this weekend for the sample, so hopefully I can go again next week.
So, mate, you just got a cold, flu, something like that?
Yeah, the flu. Yeah, it's been going around through the club, and once someone gets it, it sort of it spreads.
Oh, geez, mate, you must have done something in a past life, because you've had a troubled 12 months.
I say that to myself all the time. Did I run over a black cat or done something? I'm not sure what. Under a ladder. I don't know what I've done.
And we don't get a coffee either because you're not here.
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that.
So it's sad for everyone, is what I'm saying.
There's no winners in this.
Absolutely.
Oh, mate, I'm not making light of it because it must be driving you around the bend.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. But I think it's definitely made me a stronger person, and I probably, apart from playing more games, I wouldn't have changed much, to be honest, because I have grown a lot this year. I know that sounds strange, but I have.
Yeah. You mean as a person?
Yeah, more as a person, and I've been able to help, the other developing forwards a lot more. So there's always positives to take out of it.
Yeah. And it's probably the sort of thing, if you were just sort of week in, week out footy, you wouldn't think about different skills that you can bring.
Yeah, definitely. And to be able to help guys like Taj Schofield and see the development, Jed McEntee as well, who's now in the AFL side, just to be able to help those guys and see the development in their game, to be able to get that to AFL level, I get a bit of satisfaction and feel like I've helped him a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice.
So, Orazio, given that there's no sample game this weekend, where does that leave your return to the firsts? When are you going to be back in the AFL?
Yeah, it probably leaves it just another couple of weeks behind. It'll mean I'll probably have to run around against Sturt at Wigan Oval, I think it is. So your beloved double blue.
That's right,
I can tell you already who's going to give you a spray at that ground. It won't be the water boy, it'll be the local breakfast radio announcer.
Screaming over the fence.
Yeah. Mate, watch out. Just ask Sammy Powell-Pepper. He played there a couple of years ago, and some of the behaviour that day by the Sturt fans was pretty feral. So brace yourself.
I look forward to it. So, that'll be the game I'll play, and hopefully I can get some more form and a bit more minutes under my belt and see how we go. If I can play even just one game this year, I'd be pretty happy with that.
Hey, Razia, we heard from Charlie Dixon, who was on with Rowie last night. We played a little bit of this earlier in the program. Some of the stuff regarding your coach, Ken Hinkley, externally has gotten a bit nasty in the last week. It's always been forthright. It's always been robust, the debate. But when you've had things thrown at the club, you've had signs defaced, it's gotten to the point, I guess it can't go without comment. How have you handled that internally? Are the boys talking about it? Have you talked about it with Ken at all? How's he holding up?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Obviously, I've been sick this week, but I think there's passion and then there's a line, and I did see Kenny came out and said that you cross the line a little bit when you start doing that stuff. I think I've only known Kenny for a short period of time, but for me, he is unbelievably caring and empathetic, and when I'm having surgery or just feeling crook, like he gives you a ring, and he actually cares about you as a person. So it's such a win-loss industry, and I understand where the passion comes from, but, we all love him as a human and a coach, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, to a man, you never hear a bad word about Ken Hinkley from within inside the club, which I guess is what strengthens his position internally, because they say, well, hey, the players, you guys all love him, so that's got to stand for something. Hey, Orazio, get well soon, mate, and
look after yourself, mate.
We'll chat with you next week, and we'll just rev up that banter against the Double Blues.
I'm going to that game, mate. I'll probably be on the playground side there, on the eastern side. So if you're down there around the pocket, I'll give you a cheerio over the fence.
I'm sure I'll hear you, and it won't be cheerio.
Good on you, Orazio.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah. Orazio Fantasia, thanks to Rainwise Pools, family-owned building pools in SA for over 15 years. Google Rainwise Pools Adelaide.
Summer with a Rainwise pool. Summer without a Rainwise pool.
Got him. Wish we had a Rainwise pool.
Book your Rainwise pool install now, so you can be doing more of this in summer. And remember, Rainwise pools take care of everything. Just bring a towel. Visit rainwise.com.au.
Are you dreaming of a better sleep? Are you suffering from stress or a busy mind? At FIVEaa, we're inviting people aged 18 to 75 who have trouble sleeping to participate in a CBD sleep study. Learn more and register your interest today. Go to cbdsleepstudy.com.au. That's cbdsleepstudy.com.au.
Now, if you're tuning in last week, you'd know that our mate FIVEaa has called it. The best fish and chips in SA are at Port Noarlunga.
To be more precise, they are at Port Noarlunga Fish and Chips. That's FIVEaa's pick, and this year sees them celebrate 30 years over the deep fryers. Port Noarlunga Fish and Chips have been family-owned and operated since 1992. What about that?
They are the masters of fresh cut potato chips, fresh fish, delicious prawns and calamari. And is there anything better than a proper fish and chip shop hamburger or gyros?
There genuinely isn't.
No.
Like when you eat one, you just go, oh, where has this been all my life? And 30 years, how many million potato fritters would that be?
And the million tonnes of chicken salt.
That's right. So make sure you eat at Port Noarlunga Fish and Chips this winter. Port Noarlunga Fish and Chips, 22 Saltfleet Street, just 30 minutes from the city.
For over 38 years, Steinborner has been well worth the trip. With over 400 used cars to choose from, you're sure to find the car you're looking for. The team at Steinborner have been buying up the best vehicles around, so you can enjoy your first drive back from Gawler in one. And don't forget, you can always click through the collection of vehicles online at steinborner.com.au. So, Steinborner Automotive is still well worth the trip, or well worth the click.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny and 16 with the 8:30 news. I'm Kendall Brettig.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. physioextra.com.
Athletes have been enjoying the opening ceremony party after the Games were officially declared open by Prince Charles. More from Gail Watson.
Australia was the first nation to enter the stadium, with Kookaburra star Eddie Ockenden and squash veteran Rachel Grinham leading the way, one of 72 nations contesting the Birmingham Games. Australian swimmer Matt Levy was one of 6 athletes who carried the Commonwealth Games flag into the stadium. Prince Charles read out a message from the Queen, who is not attending. The opening extravaganza reflecting on Birmingham's history, including a nod to the Industrial Revolution and William Shakespeare, and dozens of red, white and blue British cars formed the Union Jack.
Police are hunting a man who robbed a service station at Woodville this morning before riding off on a bike. The offender entered the servo on Port Road just before 4 and demanded cigarettes before pulling out a knife and jumping the counter. He stole a quantity of cigarettes before fleeing. The staff member wasn't injured. Independent Senator Jackie Lambie is pushing the government to announce what will replace the cashless debit card. Labor will introduce legislation to abolish the welfare card 7 years after it was first established. It gives the government the power to control how some recipients spend 80% of their payments. Senator Lambie says the Prime Minister needs to say what support will be put in place.
What's he going to do about it? Because nothing's going to change. It has reduced the violence, it has reduced the drinking, it has reduced the drugs. Okay, we know that to a certain degree. But he's just going to rip the card out and that's it?
The US economy has shrunk for a second consecutive quarter. US gross domestic product down 0.9%, fueling fears of a recession. It comes a day after the US Federal Reserve raised interest rates 0.75% in a bid to curb soaring inflation. However, former economic advisor of the Obama administration, Jason Furman, says it doesn't necessarily mean recession.
Recession is a technical term economists use. I wouldn't get too hung up on the semantics. The basic facts are the economy is adding a lot of jobs, but economic growth really is negative and appears to be getting worse. That's a weird combination we don't normally see.
The presence of a rare kind of diamond has been discovered for the first time in Australia in North Queensland. Metamorphic diamonds are different to those mined for jewellery in that they're formed underground when two land masses collide, causing the edge of one tectonic plate to descend below another and sink into the Earth's interior. While the discovery has no economic value, Dr Leon Sanslab from James Cook University says it's still unearthed a lot of information.
It's very important because it tells us something about how continents form, and in this case how the Australian continent formed at that particular time period when these diamonds formed, which is about 470 million years ago.
And the end of an era for Australian TV last night, with Channel 10 soap Neighbours airing its grand finale after 37 years. 49 former cast members returned, including Guy Pearce, Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan. Susan Kennedy, played by Jackie Woodburn, delivered the closing monologue, paying tribute to the show's legacy.
When we moved to Ramsay Street, the community was already here. The Ramsays and the Robinsons. The stories from those early days are legendary, and their legacy still lives on today.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
10-year warranty and 10-year capped price servicing at Agostino Mitsubishi, Nailsworth and Elizabeth.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Kendall. Port Adelaide small forward Orazio Fantasia admits he was very sore after playing in the Sandful for the Maggies last weekend. He looked good, booting 3 goals, but told David and Will he was feeling it after the match.
Really sore just because I hadn't played a game I had played a game 3 weeks prior, but just in and out, there's no continuity. So, yeah, I was pretty sore, but that's what extra recovery does, and then I ended up getting sick this week, so I've had a bit of an average week, but no game this weekend for the Sample, so hopefully I can go again next week.
The Power take on Collingwood tomorrow at the MCG, while the Crows will host Carlton tomorrow night at home. Meantime, the days of $1 million plus wages for coaches are gone. That's according to former AFL coaches boss Mark Brayshaw, who's dismissed reports that Alistair Clarkson is demanding big money to coach in 2023. Brayshaw, who's a close friend of Clarkson, says he's about the team, not the individual.
He has always taken less money than he would otherwise have been entitled to for the purpose of retaining and attracting people above and around him to help the team win.
Formula One driver Sebastian Vettel is quitting the sport at the end of the season to spend more time with family.
It takes a lot of time, and time that you have to, probably at the beginning take away from nowhere else because there's nothing else. But since I grow and things grow around me, my children are growing, it's time away from them.
And Cameron Davis is the best of the Aussies in the first round of a PGA event in Detroit. He's 4 under, 4 shots off the pace. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now let's check the traffic.
Regency Park has road plates in use on the north-south motorway near the Days Road exit with speed reduced. Intersection upgrade works continue McGill on McGill Road, St Bernard's Road, and other speed restrictions through Glynde, Firle and St Maurice on Glenburn Road both ways. Want a Netflix subscription included in your internet plan? Get more choice when you switch to Optus Home Internet, the home of better internet. It starts with yes. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
3 out of 4 people never hear back from interviews. Shouldn't people matter more than that? Zoom Recruitment.
Mostly sunny and 16 today, a shower or two developing tomorrow, 17, then showers on Sunday, 15, and a shower or two for Monday, also 15. At the moment, 8. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Which oil keeps your business moving? Farmers and fleet managers, they know. Construction crews and car mechanics, they know. And you know. Valvoline, the original engine oil.
Hi, Alan Lark from Maddox Air. Here's a split system deal you don't want to miss. The all-new Bonaire Optima L Series with a full 7-year warranty is here. That's right, a full 7-year parts and labour warranty plus Wi-Fi control. Get one installed to a bedroom from just $11.99, a lounge room from $13.99 and a large living area from an unbelievable $17.99. For a free quote, call 1300 Mannix or go online anytime.
David Penberthy and Will Goodings, 5AA Breakfast.
22 to 9, behind closed doors shortly. We've also got to award what has been a fiercely competitive Meat Tray Friday today as well.
Ferocious.
Thanks
I got
to
a list of names here, and I don't
envy your task this morning.
I am struggling, Will.
Thanks to my local butcher at Chanella's 62 Prospect Road at Prospect.
Just want to say something quickly. I, for the life of me, cannot understand the decision by the liquor licensing authorities to let Adelaide Oval start selling beer cans again. And frankly, because there's been a lot of discussion about the fact that, well, part of the problem is that if at the moment, if you've got beer in cans for sale there, you need to tip the cans into disposable plastic cups. And we all know that plastic now is regarded as the source of all known evil in the environmentally conscious age that we inhabit. Well, I reckon what this shows is that we're now at a point where for the virtuous statement of getting rid of plastic cups, that has been deemed more important than the prospect of a copper being hit in the head with a beer can. Don't you reckon?
Yeah. Well, I just find it extraordinary there's a trial going on in the eastern states where there is currently court action pending where a woman got hit in the eye with a can.
Yeah. They've had their trial.
We are
the
undeterred.
But it's just stupid, isn't it?
Environment trumps all now.
Yeah, it trumps cops being hit in the head. And when it happens, because you'd say on the basis of the trials, drunken human behaviour being what it is, it'll happen. And it'll be on their heads. And it's all for some piddlingly sort of look at us showy statement of let's tread lightly on Mother Earth that's going to make not a single sniff of difference in a global sense to the health of the planet. That's why we've done it.
Yep.
It's absurd. Anyway, now our next guest, this story I find completely bizarre because you'd think that in the middle of a nationwide skill shortage, people like our next guest, electrician Mark Green, are the exact kind of bloke that Australia needs. He's a hard-working family man who came out 10 years ago from Scotland with his wife and kids. He was headhunted by the solar industry here in Adelaide to plug skills gaps which existed in the local jobs market. But now, on account of a whole raft of baffling immigration law issues, he's facing deportation, and the clock is well and truly ticking because he's meant to be kicked out of Australia on August the 10th and sent packing back to Scotland. Hey, Mark, good morning, mate. Thanks for your time and really great to be chatting to you again. We spoke a couple of weeks ago for the story for the newspaper. Since then, what's actually happened, mate? Are you still, just holding out hope that the federal minister can intervene in your case?
Morning, guys. Yes, holding on for every last bit of hope here. We've really got 12 days before the deadline, and realistically, through no fault of our own, we've ended up in this position because of my last employer, who lied to us about filling out our application for permanent residence and then closed his business, which left us in a spot of not having a visa and not having an employer. Since then, we've found an employer who's willing to sponsor us and keep us here and look after us, but we can't apply for this visa until we get off this bridge and visa E. Now, all we need is a bridge and visa C, or likewise, so we can stay in the country and then apply for our permanent residence without having all this the stress and having to move to fill out our visa.
It's just extraordinary. Have you had any help yet from any of the politicians? I mean, I know there's been a change of government, so the new immigration minister's settling in. But has anyone else gone into bat for you?
Mate, we have got a couple of really good politicians that have been helping us out through this whole journey here. But we've had no reply. We've had no reply from immigration. We've had no reply from any ministerial government body or anything like that. I mean, that's the most distressing thing about it, because I mean, we're sitting here hoping that they see sense and hoping that they can do something for us to keep us into this country, because this is my home. You know, we don't want to go back to Scotland. As lovely as Scotland is, this is our life here. My daughter doesn't know anything else apart from Australia. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like you've just sort of fallen through the cracks, Mark. Like it feels like anyone with any discretionary power, if they could just look at your case, they'd go, "Oh, this is an easy tick of the box. Get them the extra bridging visa, and it'll all be good."
Pretty much. We've been on this bridging visa E for nearly 2 years now. Because of COVID, it was only meant to be a 3-month visa, but because of COVID, we've been issued another and another and another and another. And realistically, if they just give us a bridging visa C, we can then pay our own way to get a permanent residence, you know, without actually having to deport and sell all of our goods that we've worked so hard to start a life here, you know, and then to sell everything to move back home, to then have to wait up to 2 years maybe to get a reply, to then come back again. It seems absolutely silly.
And presumably it's already cost you a fortune with all the fees and whatnot that you've paid for various visas and the things you've had to, the hoops you've had to jump through.
It's costing us about $17,500 every time we apply for a visa, and we've applied for probably about between 5 and 7 visas so far.
So you're looking at what, about $150,000 then, mate?
Oh, at least, and then school fees on top of that, because we are not permanent residents. Our school fees are $8,000 a year, and then
that's for a public school.
Yes, that's for a public school. Yeah.
Because you're not a citizen, so you got to pay.
Because I'm not a citizen, and we've been.
See, I reckon one of the things, mate, like I've seen nationwide campaigns launched on behalf of people who've got less to offer than you and your family. Like, you guys, you haven't cost the Australian taxpayer a single cent the entire time you've been here, have you?
Not a penny, not an absolute cent. We've paid our own way here. You know, this is our life. I don't want to sponge off at anybody. You know, I'm not asking for handouts. You know, we'll pay our own way. We have done. You know, I'm just asking for a little bit of help to stop this stupidness of sending me out the country with my family to restart, to come back again.
Yeah.
It just seems totally ridiculous when it can be overturned by a government body, or they could at least reply to us and help us out, you know. Or
well, Mark, we know that quite a lot of the federal MPs listen to our show. I know that the member for Adelaide, Steve Georgianis, listens to our show. There's other federal MPs as well. Amanda Rishworth listens to our show. She's a minister. You might even be in her seat, being down south.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, well, we'll talk to them privately. I emailed Andrew Giles when I did the story a couple of weeks ago and got a very pat reply, which was, we're not allowed to comment on individual cases. But, you know, the people who are there with him, with the minister in caucus, they need to get this on his radar as a matter of urgency. So I know you've got other media commitments we'll hopefully be helping too with 2GB and also with the current affair. So fingers crossed we can beat the deadline and get you on the radar, because, as I said at the start, you're the type of bloke that Australia needs.
That would be awesome, mate. We've got so much to give Australia, you know, so that would be awesome if we could just get a little help. That would be brilliant.
Yeah, you deserve it. Good on you, Mark. Thanks for joining us and sharing your story, mate.
14 minutes to 9. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Bloom at Glenside. Prestige Apartments for discerning boomers. Register at bloomglenside.com.au.
G'day, slight delays happening on Kensington Road as you approach Portrush Road for citybound, getting down towards Glen Corner on Montacute Road. Glenburn Road busy as well between, Glenburn Road rather, as speeds down to 40, which can cause busyness between Glen Corner and McGill Road. Sir Donabadman Drive through Hilton is under the pump as well. The King Winter Sale ends Sunday, up to 50% off selected Australian designed award-winning furniture. Sale ends Sunday. Visit the King Keswick showroom today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
G'day, it's Mark Bickley. Schools, councils and businesses all over South Australia choose Leader Computers for very important reasons. Leader is local and exceptional value. No matter what happens, Leader can be on site to fix your problem. No overseas or interstate call centres to deal with. Plus, Leader Computers is a 100% owned and operated South Australian company, offering fast same-day delivery and setup. That's why so many organisations rely on Leader. Google Leader Computers to find your closest Leader reseller.
The Adelaide Central Market is open and it's not going anywhere. You might notice some changes as the exciting new market expansion gets underway. But don't worry, your favourite traders, your weekly fruit and veg, your fresh seafood and morning coffees aren't going anywhere. It might be expanding, but the market you know and love is open throughout all stages of construction with easy undercover parking. Shop at the Adelaide Central Market, trading as always, Tuesday to Saturday.
Waiting for your dream car can be frustrating. If you've been stuck on the hunt, you know that the biggest issue is stock at the moment. You go to some dealers and they'll say, oh yeah, maybe 10 months, maybe 12 months, 18 maybe. Well, that's all changed at Mawson Lakes Mazda. The fresh new batch has just arrived with trucks rolling in from this week.
Now, a lot of people have been waiting months for a new Mazda, but now you can take your pick, and what a range to pick from too. Mawson Lakes Mazda, they've got the full range to choose from. How's this? There's the CXX30, the CXX5, CXX8, CXX9 and the BT50, all available right now. Plus, new stock means you'll also find heaps of current demos are priced to clear and they won't last long, so don't delay.
Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner with great deals on new Mazdas and run-out prices on demo stock. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me. What ends with E and starts with A? Clap your hands and hear me say advocacy, advocacy. What starts with A and ends with E? Good health for all the family. What ends with E and starts with A? Clap your hands and hear me say advocacy, advocacy.
Arbor Vitae Health Supplements. Now available at leading chemists and health food stores nationwide. arborvitae.com.au.
Arbor Vitae.
9 News has the experience to break the news. Made in Adelaide, for Adelaide. 9 News. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
5AA Breakfast.
11 to 9, behind closed doors in a moment. We just want to get some more Meat Tray Friday entries in first.
Just quickly, the early bird listeners will have heard the very start of the show we had Diane, who contacted us about her husband Rick, who bought the Lost in Space robot and also has a complete collection of Thunderbird puppets. Now, this is I hope we haven't caused a domestic here, but Rick has emailed the program to clarify some of what his wife has said. He's confirmed it. He's fessed up. He says this: yes. It is my B8. It is my B9 robot. It cost me $30,000. Oh, but there are only 63 ever made, and mine is number 57 off the production line. And there were only 3 in Australia, and it fully works. And then he says this: what my darling wife Diane does not understand is this is her inheritance.
Well, that's an excellent clarification. $30,000, my word,
money well spent.
Yeah. Well, if it brings you joy, who are we to judge?
Exactly. Well, absolutely.
Paul in Glenelg North, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Appreciate the time. I know you're running short. I'll keep it quick. I've got 2 bits of memorabilia that I'm pretty impressed with. The first one was way back when I had a business that sold medical alarms for older people.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call one day from a guy called John Bradson, who I'd never heard of, didn't mean anything to me. And he said, I want you to come to my dad's place and show him your alarm. I think it's what he needs. So I went out to Kensington Gardens, still not thinking anything of it, and turns out it was Don Bradman. I walked in the lounge and nearly passed out when I turned around in his chair, and he was sitting there, and I'm going, oh, the first words were, oh, you're him.
That's amazing.
And anyway, I went up to his study, and he's the only bloke I've ever met, and I sold 980 alarms in my time, and he was the only bloke that had a whole study with nothing but him in it. Pictures on the wall of stars that were named after him, letters from kings and queens and all sorts of stuff. And I just sat in this room full of awe. He said, you going to say anything or what? So anyway, he got the alarm and that was that. And my other bit was just a quickie. I for my birthday, because I did the announcing at West Adelaide, my wife got me a Neil Curley book way back when, and she took it up to the club as a secret thing to see if Curley would sign it. And he happened to be in there, so he came out to the office and said, what's it for? And she said, it's Paul, the guy that does the announcing here. Oh, really? Okay. So he went away with the book, came back with the book, and I got the book for my birthday.
Magnificent
Good
work.
stuff,
A
Paul.
happy birthday on that day for you, Paul. Thank you. Let's go to Marrickville. Francis, good morning.
Good morning. I work in the Marrickville Dulwich Physiotherapy, which is an old police station on Kensington Road. And in our memorabilia cabinet, we have a book that was presented, this is what the inscription inside, presented to Mr. B. Turner by the comrades of the Plainclothes Department of the South Australian Police Force at the Marrickville Police Station, dated June 30th, 1917. And one of our patients brought this book in. They found it in their library and thought we might like it, so we keep it in our cabinet.
105 years
Amazing.
old. That's extraordinary. Thank you, Francis. Marilyn Westlakes, good morning.
Oh, good morning. I have a billiard cue which my father won off Walter Lindrum.
Walter Lindrum?
Hang
Are
on.
you kidding me?
He won it off Walter Lindrum.
Yes.
Playing billiards?
Did he beat him?
Yes.
You are kidding me.
No.
Was it snooker that they were playing?
No, billiards.
So billiards with the
My dad
two
was a
whites and
billiard
the red.
player.
Now, they had to change the rules, didn't they? Because Walter Lindrum was so dominant. So was your father like world class?
Well, he never ever got to competing at that. He was a brilliant player. He's from Waikerie, and I reckon it would have been pre-war, and Myers had a huge state competition, and the people of Waikerie got Dad or paid for him to come down and play, and he beat him.
So you've still got the cue, Marilyn.
Well, I've now handed it on to my grandson, who's got a pool room, and he's in the process of putting it into a glass cabinet and putting it on the wall.
That is sensational.
Now that's pretty good.
That'd be worth quite a bit of money, I reckon.
Okay. You've got I don't know how you pick a winner today. Leanne in Para Hills will be the last entry for the Metro. Morning, Leanne.
Good morning, you two scallywags. It's nice to have you on the radio in the morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. It's nice to have you listening to us.
Yeah, it makes my day to see there are still human beings around, and you two are just too good to be true.
Oh.
Now,
thank you, Leanne.
I've got three.
Call in every day, Leanne.
I've got three memorabilias, but I don't know which one to pick. I think probably the one I treasure most is the Bonanza one, when Lorne Green came out to Norwood Oval back in the early 60s.
Lorne Green?
He signed the book and the poster for me.
Oh, wow, Leanne.
That's fantastic.
Where do we start today? Where do we start?
I tell you what, let's go behind closed doors and you can convene and do some thinking, because we've got them from law enforcement, presidents, royalty, Hollywood, you
Jackie
name
Kennedy.
it. Amazing stuff. So you start thinking about it. In the meantime, we'll go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, Interstate Freight, Distribution, Warehousing and Local Adelaide Couriers. Call Aussie Fast on 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed
1395, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Andrew Reimer.
And welcome back to the program. Andrew Reimer with you and taking you through until midnight. And you can give me a call on 8223. That's the open line talkback interactive open slather 1395 Adelaide's 5AA phone number. You can ring. Jason has given us a call. Hello there, Jason.
Oh, hello, Andrew. You like your music, don't you?
Yes, I do. I like my music.
Yes, I like music too.
Good.
Do you ever wonder where it came from?
No.
Because it's very interesting to consider where music came from.
Yeah, probably, but I don't think we'd have time to consider it now.
Oh, yes, I was thinking about it today, actually.
Great.
And I think it probably started from ancient people banging two sticks together.
Yes, or heads.
What?
Nothing, go on.
Yes, and do you know about harmonic overtones?
No.
They're very interesting.
I know about monotonous undertones.
Well, do you know of something called harmonic series and selective hearing?
No.
Well, I've been to the Governor Hindmarsh Hotel and listened to a band and used my selective hearing of harmonic series, and it makes it a lot of fun.
You know what else you could use that for?
No, what? Ooh, this will be interesting.
You could use the harmonic series and overtones to break a glass.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And you know what else you could use it for?
No.
You could use it to explode things. I'll show you.
All right, yes. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's an interesting harmonic series overtone. Oh, that's marvellous.
You there, Jason? Give us a call, 82230000.
All right, let's give away this meat tray thanks to my local butcher, Chanella's, 62 Prospect Road at Prospect. I would suggest one of the toughest days of Meat Tray Friday judging ever.
Well, I think poor old Sam's got RSI from writing everybody down. Just look at this. Cycling Olympic jerseys, Blues Brothers scripts, Michael Jordan posters, an original Valiant. Now, look, I actually think this is quite unique in the history of Meat Tray Friday, because it ended up becoming a politely combative joint husband and wife entry. I really think we can't go past Diane for jobbing her husband Rick by telling the world that he'd spent $30,000 on the Lost in Space robot, and Rick, who he just emailed in before saying that my darling wife does not understand that this is her inheritance. I think given that he spent $30,000 on a large plastic robot, the least we can do is give him a big something great free meat tray, courtesy of the excellent people at Chanella's.
Absolutely.
Don't you reckon?
I think that's fair. We're out of time, Leon. Leon Biner's coming up next, and we'll be back next week, kicking off the Undie Drive. Remember, 5AAundieDrive.com.au. We'll be taking your donations from 6 next week.
Silence. It's uncomfortable. We start to think. We start to wonder if something's wrong.